This is the
Rushmore
Rushmore
Show, where it's all about your top four and nothing more. Hey guys, thanks for joining us. See a couple people in the chat already. We're a little behind because we're hanging out with a new guest. The new guest just had a little special request. Can we push it back a little bit? And we're like, hey man, we're gonna be hanging out around that time anyway. Got a chance to watch my daughter play a little bit of ball right now. They're chasing, trying to get in them regional playoffs. So, and I'm excited about today's show. Andy, do you like football?
I do. We've only talked about it a handful of times on the show. So, but yeah, no, this is fun, man. And tonight specifically, it's be a ton of fun. This is where it can get heated. This is, I think, one of the more enjoyable things about sports. Like we love it and we hate it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like one of those. It's what keeps the interest and the fun and the smack talk and all that kind of stuff alive. Rivalries, man. What you think?
If you're out there in the chat, say hello, Kevin, Fat Boys, Real Life Perspective, Barry, Patrick, all you guys. Thank you for being here. Man, this is going to be fun, man. So we're talking football rivalries, and rivalries is kind of what makes sports fun. But football, I feel like, especially in the college level, a rivalry is like a big deal. And like they even have rivalry week. You know what I mean?
Right.
On a high school level, maybe not as big internationally, but like inside that particular game, I remember as a kid, you know, I went to Slido High, and some of the teams that we played were big deals. Like those were big games. Like we got to win this game because you had friends there or whatever. And then on the NFL level and even more broad, NFL level has deep rooted history, which I feel like these rivalries are more fan based than actual team based nowadays in the NFL. So it kind of depends on where we go, and yeah, it's going to be a fun time. Good to see that Saints jersey. Yeah, yeah. Well, it's this week, right? It's Monday, and I was really trying to go to this game, but our guest is from Atlanta, and Atlanta's playing tonight. But and they beat us this week, so I had to support them Saints. Okay.
I was hoping it was a scoreless tie tonight because of the two teams that are playing, but already not happening. So
put it down, Kevin. Put it down. All right, it's down. It's down.
Mary doesn't like my hat. I don't know why.
I'm really trying to talk my wife into letting me fly to Kansas City this week and go to my first Kansas City Arrowhead game, and I figured for a Monday night game, Monday Night Football with the Saints. I mean, that's probably not going to happen for another 25 years if it ever happens again. And so I was thinking about it, but I just can't afford it, man. Not right now. I mean, there's so many things that I need to do right now, and that is not one that needs to be a huge priority. So, Kevin, I'm not going to be there, but I'll keep my secret of who I'm cheering for this week until after the game. Just kidding. But hey, man, Zach is all in the chat, the Frugal Gardener, and I think it's time we literally get him on the show. So today we have a great friend. He is from the Atlanta area, so that's going to be a little weird. And he requested football rivalries. Now, these rivalries could be anything. A is the first letter in the alphabet. Yes, it is.
I'm a big fan of the beginning of things, like the alpha.
The alpha. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They are the number one team right now, too. So, I mean, there's that, too. So,
I mean, they kind of biased. I mean, literally, let's get some ratings. So, here we go. Anyways, I mean, who they beat? Who they beat? They beat Georgia? I mean, like, Georgia's not good. Give me a So, let's
I didn't
let him come back.
No. Kirk, I didn't say it.
Yeah, anyways. It is time. It's Vader time, right? So it is time to get into this football rivalry. Let's get it. So I've been looking at these videos, Andy, like all these videos we're doing, and this is our first year on StreamYard. It's our first time flying through this. and we made a couple videos, and people are always like, "Oh man, your stuff is so cool." But man, real life, you're out here, real life. I see you in the chat, bro. That intro you got rolling with us in it, Andy, me and you are in it, dude, is off the charts. And I'm gonna have to peel back and try and figure out how to get some more better videos. More better. That's my Louisiana showing.
Mo better.
But let's get our guests on here.
Let's do it.
I absolutely always talk about being in the community. I pop in real life's community. I pop in these other guys' communities. We've had Boggs on recently. We've had several other guys. We had Chris Gordy last week. Man, go find that guy. Man, what a fun week that was. But I come across Boggs, and Boggs has Chance and a couple other guys. And then there's this guy that is kind of talking Southern, and I hear he's like, wow, he said something about Georgia, and I find out that he lives close to me, and I start following his channel, and it is really cool, right? He collects cards. He's also a gardener. He's got 2 different channels. Welcome to the show. Our friend, our new friend, and hopefully our longtime friend, one of our best guests as far as in the chat always. Welcome, Zach, the frugal collecting gardener.
Hey, everybody.
What's up, Zach?
Tonight. Honored to be here tonight. I mean, what so pumped to be here tonight.
You're in rarefied air. I just want you to know that, Zach, you were the second guest that's ever been an openly Atlanta Falcons fan. I just
one of you.
Yeah. Man. So Zach, tell me about you a little bit. So first off, let me throw this out there. I am a school teacher in the Gwinnett County area. I kind of teach in a cluster. There in Gwinnett, there are several clusters, high schools that go middle and so on and so forth, and there are several. And he grew up in the cluster area that I teach. So that's really cool. The same one my kids go to, same one Jeff Francoeur and Matt Olson played at.
That's right. That's my boy.
Right. Yeah. So if you guys want to know where that's at, go look that up.
Yeah, we'll talk about it later.
My wife the other day, maybe Cannon can get on that, but I'm just like, man, does he have to be a Brave? What is up with that? But man, tell me about you a little bit. Why gardening? Why card collecting? Why even YouTube, man? It's obvious you're around my age, right? So like everybody always asks me, "You're doing YouTube, Mr. P?" Because that's my name at school. I was like, "Yeah, I'm an older fella and I'm on YouTube. It's fun." Why all this?
Yeah, I love this.
I gotta send you a wrench budget.
Oh, yeah, Brian in the house. Yeah, Brian's got a great channel. He's been a guest on my channel before. Great guy.
Budget Ribs channel is awesome. I'm
sending you a wrench. Barry here in the chat too, man. That's awesome to see both those guys here. Yeah, I grew up in Lilburn, Georgia, which Lilburn Stone Mountain. I grew up. I went to Parkview High School. I graduated from University of Georgia. I got my degree in horticulture, and growing up as a kid, I love sports. My dad's a big Atlanta sports fan. I grew up in Atlanta all my life. And so I was a big Atlanta Falcons, Braves, Hawks fan growing up as a kid. And, I went on, my grandfather was a Georgia grad. And so I wanted to go after him. And so I became a dog. And today I love gardening and farming and sports cards. And I love doing this YouTube thing. It's been great. I love all the awesome people in the community, like meeting Kirk and Andy. I love y'all Friday nights, Thursday nights. I love watching the show. And I love all the cool people in the community. You can see them here in the chat. Barry, like I said, Budget Rips, Will Vogue. You had Dan on here from Spine Ticks the other week. What a great guy. I've been on channel him with Spine Ticks before. Awesome people in this community. And I really love all the friends that I've met here through YouTube. And I feel like I've just grown so many friendships. And I get to share my favorite hobbies with them too, which is really fun. And so I'm honored to be here tonight. A big fan of y'all's channel, and thank y'all for having me on. Yeah, I'm glad we may not be able to do the top 5 greatest Atlanta Falcons like the New Orleans Saints you did a couple weeks ago. But
we can do that. We can definitely do that.
This is what I was thinking. I thought it would be really cool to have an episode where, let's say it was me and you are on here. You had to pick your top 4 Saints. I had to make my Rushmore of it Falcon. I could do that. I mean, I
can give you a Rushmore of any team I don't like. And, we also do Moors. We haven't done one in a while.
Yeah.
But we also do that, which is like the bottom tier of that.
No, I love that episode. I was watching the other week. I really enjoyed it, and big fan of y'all's channel. You know, we're all Southerners here. We all grew up in the South, and there's a lot of us Southerners. We may be rivals and everything, but we're all Southerners, and I think we have a lot in common. You know, there are people that were rivals in sports teams, but you know what? Doesn't mean there are other things we have a lot in common, like collectibles and cards and comics, sports in general. And so, you know, it's rivalry, it's fun, but also, man, it's just fun and friendship. And I get fired. Sometimes you gotta like step back and go, oh man, this is a rivalry, but at the same time, look, it's life. It's just football. It's just sports, y'all. There's more to it.
Some of these rivalries,
are
pretty intense that we're going to talk about tonight. Hey, Bryce, I see you say on here, I have not gone on the mission trip yet. I don't go until the end of this month, October 30th. I leave, so we're out there for about 10 days out in Argentina. But I appreciate you asking about it, and I appreciate you donating to the trip, man. Thank you so much. Really huge blessing.
So, hey, budget. Brian, you are on. I just sent you a wrench, man. And so you're welcome to be a part of that community and go follow everybody. Bryce is a video game guy. He's going to be on the channel in a little while. But, yeah, Bryce, thanks for being here. You're just a great guy. Oh, and FYI, it's 7-7 right now, if anybody is caring. And, man.
How about those red helmets tonight for the Falcons? I love those. Those are so.
So I was you literally took the words out of my mouth.
They're so beautiful.
I cannot stand this outfit they were wearing. The red helmet, the black, and the white. It's like, what is even happening? Pick a color. Anyways. Yeah. So
this is a tangent. At least it's a team color. Detroit Lions black jersey. Black's not even a team color.
Black is not for the sake of black. They don't do.
I hate black for black.
They just missed the field goal and got a penalty. Oh my god.
And
really,
Cousins just got sacked.
Really? Okay. Yeah, let's get to the show. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, we were talking football rivalries. Here's the thing. It was kind of thrown out there by Zach. The football rivalries are not necessarily college, NFL, arena, USFL,
Canadian Football League.
I don't even know what you're bringing out. High school, Pee Wee, Pop Warner, whatever. If there's a rivalry out there, we're kind of cruising by it. But do remember this. Our top 4 is our favorite. So you might not get the goats of rivalries today. And we all kind of have some different favorites in the football realm. So we might land on some things that are different. My buddy Ohio, who's going to be on next week, I believe, is that his show next week? He posted in one of our comments, and his 4 were all college, and they were really good ones. So if you went and saw that, it was a really good post because I think those might be the goats, some of them at least. And so it's going to go. And so Zach, you start. Andy's second. I am third in the sports time. So what were you thinking when you put this list together? And then we're going to go Rosie. Okay.
You want me to give you my first one? You ready?
Well, first tell us your criteria. Like what are you
criteria? Thinking? One was I've attended pretty much every one of these rivalries but one. Let's see. Let me go back. No, I've attended every one of these rivalries. So I have experienced these rivalries in person on cheering for either one of these teams. And one time I was kind of in a neutral aspect of it. I will have to say that college is my favorite football. I do love NFL, but I love college. Going to UGA, I really got a love for college football. There's just something really special about college football. The atmosphere, the players, there's something amazing about college football. Either you're in Athens, Georgia, or Knoxville, Tennessee, or Tuscaloosa, Alabama. College football is amazing. I also love high school football as well. Growing up, my Parkview Panthers, I played high school football for Parkview High School, so I have a great love for football. I grew up behind the stadium, so every Friday night I was either in the stadium or I was sitting in my front yard listening to the play-by-play in my front yard. So I love that as well. And I spent a lot of Sundays.
Hedges. I ain't been to the Hedges yet, even though I'm here, man.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what we got to do. Maybe that's what we got to do, Zach. Next time LSU comes down to Georgia, we go to the game.
Yeah, I've been to LSU, Georgia, in the Hedges. It's a great atmosphere. It's And so those are kind of mine. I'll say there's a lot of college in mine, and there's one I won't reveal it all, but there's a lot of college in mine.
Yeah. All right, so we're gonna get started with our Rosie. This is your number 4, your line in the sand, starting at the bottom of your list. Number 4, rivalry in football. What you got?
Okay. Well, number 4, you're probably, and everyone that I do tonight, is this okay, y'all? I'm going to drop my back screen, and you're going to see my ugly office, and I'm going to show you, hey, I'm Zach Sports Cards and Collectibles, so I'm going to show you a collectible from one of my
I love it.
Rushmores. Okay.
All right.
So here's my first one. It's Alabama-Auburn, and I just picked this up the other day, y'all. This is a PSA 10 Tua Tagovailoa die-cut blue prism rookie card. And I don't know if you can see it that good on the screen.
Yeah.
I just won this other day from Crown Jewel Cards YouTube channel. And this is a PSA 10. If you don't know what PSA 10 is, it's the highest grade you can get on a card. And this is my first one as well. I was super pumped about this. This is a die-cut blue Tua. I know Tua is injured, but he is the Alabama quarterback that broke my heart as a Georgia Bulldog fan. But he was great. And he's a great quarterback. But I've been to Alabama-Auburn game, and in 2004, my friend I work at a local small college. I'll shout him out, Reinhardt University. I graduated from there in 1997, and I also worked there for 22 years. I work as a groundskeeper there, and I don't care to share that. And my friend went to school with me there. He went to Alabama after Reinhardt, and he had season tickets to Alabama, and I was cheering for Alabama. It's rare to see a Georgia fan cheering for Alabama, but I like Alabama. I don't have a lot of rivalry with Alabama. And Alabama lost. Tommy Tuberville was a coach at Auburn, and I really got to experience the Auburn-Alabama rivalry, and it is intense. It's the Iron Bowl, and in Alabama, you have a choice. You either are Alabama or you are Auburn. You have a choice in that. You're either going one way or the other. Ask Barry in the chat. He'll tell you. And it's intense rivalry, and it was a great game. I love the elephant they have there in Alabama. I've been to Alabama, Georgia, and Tuscaloosa, too. It's a great atmosphere of college football. And, I cheer for Alabama, Barry. And oh, yeah, I forgot Barry's an Auburn fan. And so I really love that rivalry. It's intense. And Alabama had a chance in that game, but Auburn, I think that year was the year Auburn went to a national championship. They had some great teams. And so many great athletes that come out of both schools. You think of Bear Bryant, the greatest Alabama coach ever there. Well, next to Nick Saban. I mean, they're both kind of in there. And Auburn, you have Bo Jackson. So many greats come out of Auburn. Charles Barkley. It's a great rivalry game. And if you want to experience a true rivalry game, and look, I'm not a fan of, this is one that I'm not like a diehard fan for, but I really enjoyed the rivalry of it. And I probably already stole one of y'all's. I'm sorry. That was number 4.
Well, I'm going to just go on record and say this is probably Andy's George, but I'm just going to say right now, it's not on my list because it is my favorite, but it is probably one of the best ever. My favorite one though was 2013, the 109-yard return by Chris.
Yes, I remember that. It was amazing.
And I was actually working in the hospital. I was actually in nursing school at that time, and I was working in a hospital. Actually, I wasn't in nursing school anymore, but I was working at the hospital. I was actually in ministry school, and I was watching it with the nurses late night, and they were like, "What's the big deal?" And I was like, "Oh gosh, I hate both of these teams." And then when that happened, I'm like going crazy. They're like, "What is wrong with you?" I was like, "Dude, that is like something you'll never see probably again, to end such a big game, such a big rivalry game." And there was a lot on the table then. Which really changed the landscape of that week, the kick 6. So I do love that one. But Alabama-Auburn, one of the greatest rivalries of all time. It's probably the greatest SEC rivalry. If I'm just going GOAT, no favorites involved. But this wasn't on my list.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good pick. I think it's a very good pick. Very good pick. Also, just Barry, I applaud you, man. I didn't know Auburn actually had fans, so I'm glad I know one. I actually know one, so it's interesting. So,
yeah,
I love rivalries, man. I love rivalries. rivalries. Anyway, yeah, no, that's a great pick. That is obviously a great pick, and I'm glad that you picked the right Alabama team to cheer for, Zach. So that's good.
So let me just get this out on. I'll do it on my turn. I'll do it on my
Okay.
turn.
Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I'm gonna start my list here. So my criteria was I had to have some kind of personal buy-in to this rivalry, right? Like, there's great rivalries out there that I'm not denying that the level of what it means to college, or what it means mostly to college, but I don't really care for either team. So like, to me, it was like, it's fun, it's cool, it's probably historic. I mean, some of these games go back to like the 1800s, dude. It's crazy. But they just didn't matter to me. So my criteria is I had to have some personal buy-in, and I'm absolutely cheating on my first pick, because my Rosie isn't actually even between two teams. And it's really not even it's kind of a fan-made rivalry, which I guess rivalries are fan-made, I mean, for the most part anyway. But it's in the NFL, and there's and I'm going to say these two, and you're going to say, no, there was a better rivalry with this. But again, it's my favorite, right? So this is where I have the personal buy-in to. So this is where I'm bending the rules today, and it's why it's my Rosie. But I had a hard time thinking about these rivalries.
Man, I didn't even think of this.
Battle for the true GOAT of quarterbacks, Brady Breeze, is my first. It's not a rivalry, but I'm going to mention it as a rivalry. Here's the deal. I mean, it gets brought, especially in the New Orleans area. There gets brought up the whole debate over who's the GOAT. We all obviously put it on Brady for the most part, but there's this contingency here in the 504 and surrounding area codes that actually it's, we shouldn't just take 7 rings and just say that's all that it entails. I'm going with this. It's Drew, first of all, is the GOAT. We talk about all of this, and I don't like stats, but when it favors my favorite quarterback, then I do like these stats. You talk about the 5,000-yard seasons, you talk about the completion percentages, you talk about all that kind of stuff. Did they not win the Super Bowls they should have? Look, I promise you, the world was robbed, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, right? We've talked about this. The no call year, we would have had a Breeze Brady Super Bowl.
No.
That same year, that was actually a penalty. This one was. This was definitely offsides. Anyway, but if we had a Breeze Brady Super Bowl, we wiped the floor with the Patriots. They scored 10 points against the Rams. I mean, there's no way the Saints aren't putting up 40 on them. It's just it's the best year I think the Saints have ever had was 2018, and that's winning the Super Bowl in 09-10. Anyway, Breeze, Brady, it's the matchup that we all talk about. It's the what if. I think the one that most people are going to jump to if you're going for this kind of spin on things is going to be the Peyton Manning, Tom Brady thing, but that was clearly one-sided. Also, when you look at the head-to-head, with Breeze and Brady, I mean, Breeze was successful against Brady. He was, I think, 5-2 all time against him in the regular season. Also had a win against him, I believe, in college, or had a winning record against him in college, Purdue and Michigan. So he had the best of him in those moments. They had the one playoff win against us, right? And then Kirk gets to throw up, who's may go down as like the 3rd best quarterback of all time, right there in Mahomes. I mean, he's not bad, but he's not Breeze. He's not Brady, right? Anyway, I just love to do that. But yeah, so I'm going Breeze Brady for this rivalry. And again, it's not even really like they themselves have the rivalry, but it's one that's kind of homemade down here. There's so many what ifs that go into it. We talk about the 2018 year, we talk about the 2011 year, we talk about just all of these things that we could have had. Breeze and Brady, we would have had, the world needed more of those matchups, and when it did have those matchups, Breeze tended to come out on top. So is what it is. Anyway, that's my Rosie. That's where I'm going to go to.
Yeah, this is not where I thought you were going. I thought you were going to go Saints versus the big guy.
Goodell?
Yes, Goodell.
That's my next pick. Sean Payton versus Goodell. No, it's not.
I thought you were going Saints versus Goodell because you said it was like kind of made up. But like if you
Now
ask
that I
Saints,
think about it, I think that might actually be better. So I may change my pick because that is
yeah,
very
but anyways,
good. But no,
I thought that's where you're going. I was like, I see where you're going because you're like it's a made up thing and it's down here in the South, all that. But let me just go back. I joke 50% when I talk about Patrick Mahomes. Like obviously he's not done. He's got a lot to go, but he's definitely on pace. But when I talk about the best quarterback I've ever seen play, it's Drew Brees. And that is longevity. I've watched him his whole career. I cannot wait for 15 more years to see where Mahomes may be or may not be. And he's having a down year, and they're 4-0. So
he's the best. He's the best at injuring his own receivers, though. He's very good at that. That was a.
He's also the best at winning without receivers. So there you go.
What is wrong with the Chargers, man? How could you not win that game? That's crazy.
And I mentioned it this week. I potentially was going to go to that game because I'm a huge Saints fan from where I'm from. My family, it's bred in the bones. But Chiefs. But Tom Brady, I never liked this guy. But I lie. I've cheered for him like twice in my life. The first time was the very first Super Bowl. The very first one. It was like, man, this is a great story, right? This kid is coming out of nowhere. He's picking up for Drew Bledsoe. And then the second time, I was actually in Iraq watching him play the Carolina Panthers. And I was like, no, I don't want the Panthers.
I know, Zach, as a.
And then
as
the
a
last
Falcons
time
fan,
was
not-
when he came back and beat the Falcons. I cheered for him then. So
Yeah, that was a heartbreaker.
I cheered for him 3 times in his whole career. I mean, I can't stand him. And I hate him even more now. Like listening to him talk about his career, he is not humble whatsoever. I don't care what any Brady fan says. Like the arrogance is just beyond me for someone who is like so like when you look at athletes out there, he's not.
Listen, I mean, he's like Jordan in that sense. Jordan doesn't have a humble bone in his body either, bro. When you listen to that guy talk, not anymore.
And you know what? And that kind of turned me off of Jordan not long ago either. And I love Jordan. I still think Jordan's the GOAT. But like, yeah, when I saw that, that's not fun either. So here we go. Yo, Rushmore, DK in the house.
DK's awesome.
DK, man, it's been a long time. Welcome
DK,
back.
have your way, baby.
Zach's here, man. We got Zach. Yeah. Hey, DK, I'm throwing you a wrench your way. There you go, man.
We got a couple in the comments real quick just to throw some out there.
Let's go through it.
Real Life says UT versus ATM. I mean, Texas A&M, you know, the money machine.
Well, University Texas versus the ATM, it's probably what the NIL thing is going to
be. Yep. Cowboys and Commanders. Whoa. Censor yourself here, Patrick. I still say Redskins all the time, dude.
I do too.
I don't know if this was actually one here, but he said Eli or Peyton. Who's better, Eli or Peyton?
Can I share?
Peyton was better. I think Peyton was better.
Can I share on that? Peyton absolutely is better. But I played against both of them in baseball, and I've told you the story. And Eli was by far a better arm, by far. Oh, and when he was coming up, and they were talking about him going to Ole Miss, they're like, Peyton knew the game. He's so smart and all that, but Eli's got a way better arm. And then they kind of evened out later. But Arch
Bryce says South Carolina, Clemson.
Yeah, that's a good rivalry.
That's a good rivalry.
Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a good rivalry.
That's a good
All
one.
right, so Andy, you're up.
Nope.
Yeah, you're up. I'm up. Gosh, rivalries. Originally what I did is I wrote down all the top rivalries I could possibly think of. And then I'm like, what pulls me towards making one of these the top or bottom? We kind of always shout that the Rushmore is not our GOATs or who we think are the best. They're who are our favorite. Like, what do we like to watch? So if this game comes on, this is can't miss TV for me. I've got 4 here that are can't miss TV. and only one of them is not a team of mine. It's just how it is. So can't miss TV for me is watching my guys play. And so get this one out the way because I really don't see this as a huge rivalry anymore. And here's the thing. One of the things I was throwing out there, rivalries don't necessarily have to be who's got the wins and losses, right? Just because one team is really lopsided on the wins doesn't mean it's not a rivalry because I really believe the rivalries sit more with the fans than they are with the actual teams.
Yeah,
I
Now,
agree.
if you go to baseball, 100% Yankees Red Sox is not just the fans. It is the whole state. It is the whole the counties. Like every single person on the subway, they're fighting. It's nuts. Like nobody. But in a lot of these, what especially in the NFL, as long as you're not in the parking lot before the game, nobody really cares if you're this fan or that fan anymore. It's just weird, right? Except for my fandom, right? And so I'm going to go with the first one, probably the smallest rivalry here. We've been mentioning it already. I'm a huge Kansas City fan. And back in the day, Super Tecmo Bowl, my favorite team back then was, well, really favorite player was Bo Jackson, an Auburn guy. And I played this game because he was the GOAT in the game, which switched me over to be a Chiefs fan. And here's the thing, the best, you got Chiefs, Broncos, that's a big deal. You've got Chiefs, Chargers, it's not a big deal. I don't care what anybody says. That's not a big deal. Like, it's just, okay, but Chiefs, Raiders. I want to go to the Chiefs Saints game this week, but if I ever make it to another game, I have to get to a Raiders game. And it's been lopsided for the last few years. They actually beat us on Christmas last year, which was like mind blowing. I couldn't figure out how that game even happened. I was so stunned that game happened because that one was like, oh yeah, we're not going to get to the AFC Championship this year. Not playing like that. We didn't score an offensive touchdown. It felt like another game that I watched before, which I'm not going to talk about that one. But like we didn't even get to the 50. It felt like, And here's the deal. I was like so bummed. Like, what the heck is going on? But Kansas City, Oakland. Like Oakland's got the greatest cast of characters. Their fans are wearing like Legion of Doom stuff. They're silver and black. They're crazy. Now this is back in the Oakland and days, right? Now they're Vegas, and I don't think since Vegas, it's we've kind of run that place. But I'm talking about the Oakland time frame when they were in Oakland. You had those guys, which they don't have anything in Oakland anymore, which is crazy. I'm going to go with Kansas City, Oakland. And these rivalries, the head-to-head is pretty close long term, but we've pretty much owned them in the last few years. I'm never going to miss watching a Raiders-Chiefs game. I'm just not. I mean, it's one of my favorites, no matter who's playing, what's playing. And I definitely, this is one game that is on my bucket list for sure. In Kansas City, I would have liked to go to Oakland. I don't necessarily need to go to Vegas to see this game. But yeah, my number 4, again, my favorite. I'm going Chiefs, Raiders. The
Raider Nation.
Raider Nation. I love that.
Yeah, it's a good one. I didn't have fandom on either side. So
right.
I understand that it's a rivalry and it was a big one. And I do agree to your point that
this is also one of the longest standing rivalries in the league. It's not the longest. It's one of them. This goes all the way previous to the formation of the NFL. This was AFL days.
AFL, right? Before they merged.
Does it still feel the same though, being Vegas? Does it still feel the same? It feels like it's just
I don't.
a totally different game now,
Yeah, again, that's what I'm trying to say. Like, it's not the same, and I almost put Denver because of that. But for real, it's always been Oakland for me. It's always been like even that little inside of me was like, I I kind of wanted to be an Oakland fan at one time in my life because of Bo Jackson. But yeah, no, this is my thing.
Everybody had the Raiders starting jacket back in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. Except me.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, jeez. Yeah, I saw that a couple weeks ago. But like all the rappers, like on MTV, would have like the Raiders hat, and the starter jacket.
Vintage, baby. This is from my high school. Yeah.
Believe it or not, I used to walk around with an LA Rams starter jacket back in the days because my dad's from LA, so he had that, and I was never a Rams fan. In fact, I was a Saints fan, so I hated the Rams, right? I mean, but this is what it is. Anyway, yeah, no, that's a good pick, man.
And this, I gotta write this one down because that is actually one that I need to do for a venture that you just brought up, and it's a great one, and it's very underrated.
NFC West days, old NFC West. I mean, 90s. Yes. There's a lot of stuff happening there. Yeah.
So, all right, man. So we're to second round. TJ, Jesse, Jeff. Some good ones. Auburn, Alabama. Probably talk about that again. Breeze and Brady. Probably won't talk about that again. Chiefs and Raiders. Probably won't talk about that again. So where we go in the next round? Oh man, Falcons are up 14-10.
I hate that.
That's right. Just score Daryl Mooney for the touchdown. Let's go, Dirty Birds. Too legit to quit, baby. Let's go.
I mean,
hey, look. As long as it's not Kyle Pitts against me in fantasy, that's who I'm playing in fantasy.
I need Mike Evans.
No, you did, yeah. Well, I got Kirk Cousins as my quarterback in my fantasy league. So
that's helping you. That's good.
Super fun. So here's my next one. I'm up next, right? Yeah.
Yep.
I'm worried about getting in the wrong order. Okay, so here's my next one. And y'all know we've all been talking about this one all night long. It's the Falcons and the Saints. Oh my gosh, what a rivalry. I was watching last week's game, which y'all probably didn't thoroughly enjoy, but I did. Thanks, Koo. Shout out to Koo for that big win kick this weekend. Let's go. And
did he just whip one?
Yeah, he just whipped one, but it's okay. We're winning right now, 14-10. But this is a great rivalry. Look, I've been to a Falcons Saints game. I was in the game. What was it, like 13, where they were in the Georgia Dome, and the Falcons could have won. They had 4th and inches, and it's Matt Ryan versus Drew Brees. Which, look, I respect Drew Brees. What a great quarterback. What a great career, and I do. One of the great ones. And you know what? I'll tell you something. One of my former Parkview Panthers, John Stinchcomb, was a former New Orleans Saint. Yes,
Stinchy, yeah.
Yeah, Stinchy's brother Matt played with me. He went on. He was a number 1 draft pick by the Oakland Raiders and played for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers as well. He played with me and when I played football at Parkview. So I big fan of John Stinchcomb and Matt, both great brothers, great players. But the Falcons Saints rivalry is great. The thing what makes the Falcons Saints rivalry so good. One, I was watching the game this weekend, and I was thinking I was going to share this with y'all tonight. They are like almost identical. Like they're like 66 and 65 now, I think it is, or I may be off by 1 there. But overall, record-wise against each other, they're almost like dead even. Okay, and let's keep it real. Okay, my Falcons have never won a Super Bowl. The Saints have won Super Bowl. There's been a lot. Look, as a Falcons fan, see, right? I'm here in Atlanta, Fulton County Stadium behind me. There's been a lot of miserable seasons for both of us. Okay, and we've not been the greatest teams for a lot of years. Now we've had some good years and some bad years. But we kind of been, and I think that makes this a great rivalry. It's a Southern rivalry between NFL teams. And as a Falcons fan, there is really no, when I was growing up as a kid, other than the Saints was the only rival team. Now you had the Panthers and the Titans and all these other teams. But back in the 80s, there was no other rivalry than the Saints. And I don't count the Dolphins and the Buccaneers because they're way down there in Florida. But I think that's what makes this great rivalry. I remember 1991, Jerry Glanville going down to New Orleans and beating the Saints in the playoffs. And then you had primetime Deion Sanders on that team, and you had MC Hammer singing the songs for him there on the sidelines, Too Legit to Quit. And those are the days of great rivalries. But this is a great rivalry. Breeze versus Matt Ryan. I really enjoyed watching that. 2 of the greatest quarterbacks, I think, and 2 awesome players. So I love this rivalry. And so that's my next one is Falcons Saints. And this is going to probably be my only NFL rivalry. And because, there are so many great NFL rivalries. You have all these northern rivalries, Minnesota, Green Bay, Jets, Patriots. You could go on, but to me, the one that I relate to because I'm a big Falcons fan is this one. So this is a great rivalry, and and it's not because they're the greatest two teams to ever play on the earth. Let's keep it real. Both our teams don't have the greatest records in the world, but it's a great rivalry. I think that's what makes the rivalry kind of good.
Yeah. I'll echo what I said in the first pick. That's a good pick, man. That's a good pick. Kirk, what you think?
56 and 55.
They were tied going in Monday night. It was 55-55.
Yeah. So,
now they have the edge, 56.
Here's a fun thing. Well, first off, here's a real fun thing. Mike Evans just scored his second touchdown.
I know.
Second thing is my family just got home. But the second thing is that 1991, that's the only playoff game they've ever played.
Mm-hmm.
The game before that went to overtime, and the Falcons won. But the game before that, in the beginning of the season, the Saints blew them out the water, like 27 whatever.
I remember that.
And losing that playoff game, that was like the cha-ching year, wasn't it? Or it was the year before the cha-ching. Anyways, the Saints had never really been in the playoffs too much before that. And that was a heartbreaker. That was definitely a heartbreaker. I love this pick. It's a great pick. And I will say one of the things I hate about this pick the most is, and this might hit a little different because you are a Falcons fan, and now that I live in Atlanta, I know a ton of Falcons fans. But prior to moving here and living in New Orleans, there was not a fan that I could tolerate less. And honestly, it was because I went to a few of the Saints Falcons games in New Orleans, and it was always awful. I mean, fights, beer bottles thrown around. My wife, me and my wife went. I think it might be the last Saints game we ever went to together, and she got hit by a beer bottle from a Falcons fan. We were just wearing our jerseys or whatever, and I was just like, man, I will never go to this again. My wife and I almost went to the last week's game, right? And I'm almost at the spot where if I go to a Saints Falcons game, I'm not wearing my Saints jersey. I'm not necessarily wearing anything. I'm just going to watch and have fun, right? Because it is really heated. And I've seen some other ones like Philly, Dallas, that it's like this, or some up north stuff. But this one, to me, if you've never been in the environment, man, these two really hate each other. Yeah. And it's really about the fans. It's really
what makes this rivalry so good now. And I was going to mention this. I didn't mention this too. But after Katrina, so many people from New Orleans moved up to Atlanta, and I think a lot of them stayed, and that has made this more of an intense rivalry because now you have so many people that are Saints fans that live in Atlanta too, and so these games get more and more. It's more and more of a rivalry between them.
Right. I love walking around and seeing somebody and being like, "Oh, who that? Yeah, who that, man? Yeah, who that?" Like, because there are a lot of Saints.
He said they play again November 10th. He said, "Let's all go," which would be fun. But if history tells us anything, the Saints are a shoo-in to win that game because we got to even the series back up. I mean, it's kind of how things go, right? We usually
it is one wins one and one wins the other, and it's usually in the opposite stadium of the team too. Like usually win down there, and then the Saints will win up here. It's crazy.
Weird. That's a good pick, though. That's a good pick. All right. Well, I'm going to move to my next one, and actually, this one is not so.
Not a football thing either.
No. It's absolutely. The rest of mine are not like my first one. These are going to be team versus team. But what I was going to say is that this is not actually an official rivalry. Although, if you were to just watch the game and watch anything leading up to it, you would absolutely believe it's a rivalry.
Yes, it is.
College, yes. There are so many games that happen.
Yes, it is.
That rivalry week sometimes isn't even as fun as some of the games that aren't even technically considered rivalries. And this one is absolutely a rivalry without officially being a rivalry. We're roll tiding and we're going Alabama LSU. That no game in November. That Saturday in November. It doesn't matter if it's official on the books as a rivalry game. I mean, LSU's technical rivalry is Arkansas. Is it really a rivalry against Arkansas? I mean, or do we care about that boot trophy?
Yeah, isn't that a boot y'all are playing for? Like a big gigantic boot or something?
It's the boot, right? We're playing. It's the state line. It's the whole deal, right? But here's the thing: Alabama LSU might be the best rivalry, and really the reason that it's become a rivalry has been because of the whole Saban thing, right? Like that. I mean, and there have always been SEC, and they've played against each other so many times, right? In fact, I was looking at this, and this is another one of those rivalries that that like dates back like so ridiculously far. Like they played forever, and Alabama won like the first 250 matches or something. Not like that, but I mean it was like this crazy amount, and then it just became whatever. I think a lot of these go back to like the 1800s. It's crazy. I mean, college football is just wild. But obviously it was heightened during the whole. Saban was LSU's coach, goes to Miami, comes back, coaches here, and then that really just built this rivalry up. And it's been every year. Both teams have the bye week before it, just like they would any rivalry game. It is college. It is the premier game that's on TV that Saturday. I bring it up obviously as a Bama fan, but being in Louisiana as a Bama fan that week, I kind of am in hiding all week, right? I mean, like it's most people are. It's a lot of fun trash talk at work. It's a lot of fun, all that kind of stuff. But yeah, Alabama LSU. We so many great matchups over the year. We're talking the 21-0 game, which was just fantastic. You kind of briefly pointed to that earlier, not crossing the 50. That was a fun one, man. But that year LSU gets the best of Alabama in the regular season too. So you have those back and forths and all this kind of these great matchups that you've had, but. I'm going to go Alabama. I'm going to roll tide. My tagline says, I promise I'm not going to only pick Bama, and I'm sticking to that because I did pick somebody else before this. But this is a great one. But you know what's fun? When you're a great team, every team that's on the up and up, or not that LSU's on the up and up, but just all these other teams all of a sudden have a rivalry with you because they all want to beat them, right? Like, so that would never really a rivalry or whatever. So, and again, this one is – but I was scrolling through a list on Wikipedia, if you can believe that source, and there was like a long list of Bama, this person, Bama, this team, Bama, this team, Bama. Those aren't rivalries. They're just teams that we want Bama. I keep waiting for the sign that gets put up there that says we want Bama, but in really fine print it says South Bama, South Alabama, because we want them. Or UAB.
As a Georgia fan, I don't see Georgia-Alabama as a big rivalry. And people around here think that too. Georgia-Alabama didn't even play for years. And I mean, they are, now they're both real good, but I don't see that as a that big of a rivalry. I mean, it is, they've been battling for national championships, but overall in history, not as much. I think Auburn is a bigger rival to Georgia than Alabama.
I mean, look, this one, Vox, he says Clemson, Alabama. I mean, I don't feel like that was like a very small window of time.
Yeah.
Clemson was like
supposed but it's over now. Yeah.
It's way over now.
Yeah.
So it's not one that really stuck out for a long time. But this Alabama LSU game, even though it's not officially on the books, I think is a rivalry. It's an honorary rivalry for sure. And I'm sure Kirk's got a lot to talk about here. Go for it, man. Keep it going.
So this to me is a it doesn't show up on rivalry week because you have Auburn. And it doesn't show up on rivalry week because we have Arkansas has to have somebody. And so, and the honest to goodness truth, if you look at LSU's real rivalry, it's Ole Miss. And we don't even play that game as a rivalry game, which is weird to me. And if you also ask in the New Orleans area what the rivalry is, it's Tulane. So, and Tulane hasn't been successful, but 1 year of like 30. And so this is the game every LSU fan's looking forward to. It was always Alabama before Saban, and it has gotten stronger since then. You are absolutely right. Alabama is way up in this. They are 56, 27, and 5, which is weird because they've been playing since 1895.
Yeah.
So in 130 years ish, 129 years, they've only played 80 times. So must have been a break there where the SEC or whatever was happening before the SEC was formed. But like when
The
they were
Civil War was happening, or
yeah. But I will say this: November 18th, 1895, LSU holds a 12-6 victory over Alabama for the first win. And you're right. Listen.
Lincoln
this,
was president.
This isn't the real rivalry, but is the only game that matters in Louisiana. It's literally the only game that matters. If you win this game, we win the national championship, and that's how a lot of colleges feel. Is if you win this rivalry game, you've won the national championship. And if you get a natty, that's even better. But guess what? You got a natty and you didn't beat them. There's always questions. And what I know is losing this game, and it hasn't worked for Alabama, obviously, because Saban did lose a few times at LSU, will potentially cost you your job. So if Kalen DeBoer moves forward and just not saying it's going to happen this year because it doesn't seem like it's likely, but going forward because here's the thing, they recruit the same players. They 100% are recruiting in the same 4-window state, both of them. And these two are probably pulling the most recruits. And Alabama usually gets the nod because they got more natties. They had Saban there, and there's much more history. But yeah, this will get you fired. So, Kalen, you want to win a game, make sure you don't lose this one. Because everybody's then going to go back going, wait, Saban only lost this many times. Yeah. Don't lose to LSU or Auburn. That's the 2 games he's got to win. He's got to win. But he will. I think we joke about how they were ranked low and everything this year. I think they were underrated just because of the Saban move. They weren't retooling. You still got Saban's players in there. That's the big deal. When Miles came in, we still had Saban's players. And then when Ed O came in, he still had Miles players. So you're going to go through a couple of years with still the same players. 4 years from now is when we figure out that key. But and the NIL is a big deal too going forward. So we'll see how these rivalries stand up. Good pick.
This is the game where, and you're kind of alluding to it, if either team is having a down year, a horrible year for their own standards or whatever, but they win this game, everything's okay. That's okay.
Also, if they're both having a good year, this is what gets them into the championship.
This is a Heisman moment area. Yep. This is a launch them into the playoffs. Yeah, this is a huge game. The implications for it not even being a rivalry. Zach, what do you think about this game?
Yeah, this is a great rivalry game. Two just hit a field goal, so tied up. Sorry. But yeah, this is a good one. And I totally agree with Kirk saying we'll see what the new coach Alabama isn't DeBoer. I can never say it right, but what he does in the next couple of years with recruiting as well. Really this year, I mean, LSU. I think this. I remember that. Was it 9-6 game or 9-3? The whole game was like field goals between Alabama. LSU. That was one of my favorite Alabama LSU games. Watching on TV as a fan, because not a fan of either team. So I just, as a spectator watching it, that was one of the best games I remember. It was like 9-3. I don't know. It was like the whole game was field goals. I remember it was so close. Alabama LSU is more of the Western South. So I mean, I've seen Alabama, but not a lot. I mean, I've seen LSU play here at Georgia, but we're SEC West, SEC East. So I mean, unless we're meeting in the SEC championship, we don't see a lot of LSU. So, but definitely, yeah, good rivalry there. And I think the Nick Saban thing really, really made this. When Nick Saban, he did so good at LSU. I mean, I'm sure LSU fans love him like we love Vince Dooley and Kirby Smart. and for winning those titles. And so to him to go to Alabama, that's got to be kind of hurt a little bit, so I can understand the rivalry between the two as well.
Yeah. Here's one right here. Vintage Sportflips. What's up? Eagles, Cowboys, Bears, Packers, Bengals, Steelers, Eagles, Giants. All NFL.
Yeah, great.
There was a time where I felt like
Steelers.
every Sunday night football, like I felt like the Eagles and the Giants played 8 times a year. Every Sunday night football game felt like it was Eagles Giants. I don't know why, but there's a lot of, Miracle at the Meadowlands. There's so many amazing games that happen in that one.
Nothing beats an NFL rivalry Northern game in the snow in like November and December. And you're watching them play out there in the snow. I love those games.
Yeah. Yeah. Tom versus Jerry versus, those are solid.
Hey, that would be a fun rivalry to talk about in
cartoon rivalries.
Or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Dexter versus Dee Dee. Ed, and Eddie versus the Kanker sisters.
Bart versus Lisa Simpson.
Yeah. Or Homer versus Bart. Homer
versus Bart would be good.
Splinter versus Shredder.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's some fun ones. Helga versus Arnold. but also there's like a love there, so it's like a weird thing. Yeah. Anyway, that's a good boost.
I agree with at least 2 of those. The other ones seem very specific to your fandom. But the other 2, I definitely would agree with.
Bengals Steelers is not the one I would pick in that division.
Yeah, I wouldn't pick a Bengals Steelers. I would pick Steelers and someone else potentially, and I would pick Bengals and someone else potentially. But yeah, anyways,
I would almost pick Bengals. I would almost pick Bengals in your team, Kirk, as of late.
Recently,
yeah.
Yeah. And I'm an LSU guy, so the Bengals are loaded. That's LSU North.
Mm-hmm.
So, all right. Well, we're halfway through, man. Halfway there. Oh. So let's do some commercials. Andy, we have been doing this convention thing for a while, and I am so depressed. Like, seriously, I'm so mad that we couldn't handle this. Hurricane Helene and Hurricane Francisco, whatever. Was it Francis? I keep forgetting.
Yeah, Francine, I think it was.
Francisco,
Francesca.
Franny. Anyways, really did a number the last couple weeks and we weren't able to get to the convention. And honestly, we weren't really getting to the convention anyways because of I just had a lot going on. It happened this past weekend and it looked like a blast. But on the convention trail, we get an opportunity to preach the gospel, guys. And if you haven't been here long enough to know, both Andy and I are youth pastors. We're both ministers. We both are not shy of our faith. And we love people. We love the Lord. If you're down and out about anything, man, reach out to us. We'd love to pray for you, pray with you. The best way to do that right now, it's coming below, is our Discord. Our Discord really isn't popping like we would like it for it to be, but we're not really good at Discord. And then right there below it, Culture Box. And that's our guys right here. So if you want to find out some of the fun Christian nerdy things that we're doing, you can find it at our Discord and find it at Culture Box. But before we jump into Culture Box, I'm sure Andy's got a great pick for us this week to give you guys the highlight. I just want to tell you a little bit about this.
Prepare to make the jump to light speed.
They're getting closer.
Oh yeah? Watch this.
So we are going to be at the next convention. And the next convention, Andy, I see you loaded up an amazing commercial. We'll share that with these guys. But we're going to be at St. Tammany Collectors Con. It's coming up this November. Man, it might be even that November 10th time. Is it the same?
November 16th.
No, it's the next weekend.
Oh, man.
So we'll be down at the convention at St. Tammany Collectors Con. And Andy or I, actually, it's probably going to be me. Andy is going to be just on the heels of Argentina. So I'll be preaching that weekend down there. We have some Power Rangers going to be there. We have some Ninja Turtle fans. We're going to be there. We have a lot of wrestling fans that are going to be there. There's a lot of different people that are in the stars over there. So I don't know where I'm going to go with the message. We may try and see if Ben will allow us to preach on Saturday night, so Andy might be able to get a chance to do a little bit of that, or at least do with the vendors. But here's the cool thing: these guys have welcomed us in to kind of be like the chaplains of the convention, and instead of being out on the doors banging our Bibles, inside hanging out, playing with toys, and telling people that Jesus loves them. And so, Andy, let's do three things. One, we got to share our favorite coffee. 2, we have to share our favorite Culture Box person for the week. And 3, we got to share our commercial with St. Tammany Collectors Con. And then we'll get back.
Coffee, Culture Box, and cons. It's the 3 C's of the Rushmore Show. Well, hey, since we're on the heels of talking about STCC, check this out.
Attention all collectors and enthusiasts. The St. Tammany Collectors Convention is coming your way. Whether you're a fan of rare comic books, vintage toys, or unique collectibles, this is the event you've been waiting for. Join us November 16th through the 17th at the Cassine Center in Mandeville, where passion meets memorabilia in an epic celebration of all things collectible. Discover exclusive finds, connect with fellow collectors, and meet some of the biggest names in the industry. Dive into panels, food, prize giveaways, costume contests for all ages, and live signings with our special guests featuring Daniel Logan from Star Wars, Steve Cardenas, Catherine Sutherland, and Nakia Burrise from the Power Rangers franchise, and many more. The St. Tammany Collectors Convention has something for everyone, so mark your calendars, grab your tickets, and get ready to experience the largest collectors convention on the North Shore. For tickets and more information, visit sttammanycollectorscon.com or follow us on Facebook. We can't wait to see you there.
That is going to be a sick time, man. Very excited.
So look, I've been thinking we need to get back to this. So, hey guys, anybody that leaves a comment in our message today, and this is what we'll do. You can leave a comment here in the live, but I would prefer that you leave a comment after the live, sometime later in the week. Come by and drop on any of our videos and put hashtag STCC for St. Tammany Collectors Con, and we'll do some live drawings at the convention. If you're there, come pick them up. We're gonna have a bunch of pops, Funko Pops, toys, whatever. We've got a lot of stuff that we'll be handing out. Be a part of that. Drop STCC in the chat. So, Andy, tell them about our coffee of choice.
Yeah,
and
man.
Our Culture Box of choice.
Believe it or not, we have an official coffee of the Rushmore Show. A good friend of mine, and actually, now father of 2. They just had another baby boy. Cade is part of Village Coffee. I promise you guys, if you go order Village Coffee, you're not going to regret it. If you're a coffee person, he will ship to all the United States here. You can go to villagebeans.com. Villagebeans.com. You can order it however you like it. If you like K-Cups for convenience, if you want the grounds yourself, you can order those. He's got 2 brews right now, and he's just on the cusp. He actually, because, he's a good friend of mine, he ships me these ones that aren't quite available yet. But he's got a Mexico, which is my favorite. Ethiopia is fantastic. But he's coming out with a Colombian brew now, too, which is also equally as fantastic. Go to villagebeans.com. You can sign up for their email blast. You can get 10% off of your first order, and you get entered into this free coffee lessons every month sent to your email. It's super cool. They're great people. Again, you go order it at villagebeans.com.
Hey, you know my favorite thing from Mexico? A guy named Joe Mexican, and he is going to be at St. Tammany Collectors Con too. That's Dope Smack. He was on our show too.
I saw there's a G.I. Joe toy designer going to be at that convention. Man, I love G.I. Joe, man.
Look, there you go, villagebeans.com. I can't help but every time I hear Village Beans, I immediately think of the movie The Village and
I think of
Resident Evil The Village. And both
Look at the Village People.
Both of those are kind of creepy. But the Village People, they're creepy too. And anyways, so let's who we gonna highlight in the culture box today?
All right. Well, last little commercial we got right here, guys. We are excited. We love our friends over there at Culture Box. And I wanted to highlight our friends over at Cellcast. Give it a look. The Cellcast hosts Jacob and Drew review animated movies and TV shows, discussing what they appreciate about the medium in whatever form it takes, whether it's a traditional hand-drawn animated movie, claymation shorts, or a 3D CGI series. Check out some animated reviews when you subscribe to The Cellcast at thecellcast.podbean.com. And don't forget, Cell is spelled with a C and a single L at thecellcast.podbean.com. There you go. Go give them a shout out. Let them know that the Rushmore Show sent you.
Hey, so we got some STCs in the comments. We will mark you guys down in for the giveaways. So let's get back to the show. And it's 24-17. Mike Evans didn't catch that touchdown, but it looks like the Falcons are driving.
Yeah,
so,
come on.
Zach, I'm going to have to remove you away from this amazing game. Just tell us who your link is. Who's Lincoln?
Lincoln. Okay. So I got my dog's hat back on here. So my next one, gosh, it's a local rivalry. It's Georgia versus Georgia Tech. It's hate. In my family growing up as a kid, you either pick Georgia or Georgia Tech. And there many times this game happens on Thanksgiving weekend. And I can have many memories growing up as a kid going down to Atlanta of eating dinner at my aunt uncle who graduated from Georgia Tech's house, wearing my dog's clothes, and me and my grandfather pulling for our Georgia Bulldogs, and he's a Tech grad, and my grandparents are Georgia grads, and we all came together and ate there at the dinner table together. We all got along, but we're all, going, go Dogs, go Yellow Jackets. Now, growing up in Georgia, there's like Georgia is a agriculture school, an education school. So you have a lot of people who are farmers, educators, where Georgia Tech is, like rocket scientists. I don't know. They're all these real smart people. And so they're a lot out of state. And so there's a lot of rivalry between us. And so there's that. And then, Georgia Tech is always good in basketball. We're always good in football. And I'm not going to lie to you, I pulled for Georgia Tech basketball back in the day when they had Mark Price, John Sally, and all those great Georgia Tech basketball. Bobby Crimmins was one of the greatest basketball coaches I ever saw in my lifetime. So I definitely I've been to this one many, many times in Athens, in Grant Field. I've been to they used to have a junior varsity game back in the day. My grandfather took me to one between the Georgia and Georgia Tech junior varsity teams. They don't have that no more, but it was on Thanksgiving Day, and they'd raise money for Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. But it was great, and this is a great game. A lot of fighting going on sometimes in these games. Georgia does have It really doesn't matter what the record is. I mean, Georgia dominates in most towns, but still. But it's a great rivalry. Interstate, we battle for the Governor's Cup. I don't know what that is. The Governor's Cup. It's not really anything we're fighting for, but it's fun to beat Georgia Tech as a Georgia grad. So.
Yeah. And I had so when I was coaching football over here, our coach at the time, he was a Georgia Tech guy. He was from out there, and I remember him posting. I had no buy into this rivalry, but I remember how heated he got about it. And being on the losing side of a rivalry that much, I mean, it just kind of almost amps it up even more. You just want to be, when you see your team win that, it's like seeing Sasquatch, right? It's so rare. But he would always post some questionable things. I think the hashtag was THWG, and it was a lowercase g. That's kind of like their big thing. Anyway, which is an acronym for something else. But anyway, it was he was not a fan of Georgia.
Yeah.
So I looked it up because I was like, man, I just feel like I've never seen Georgia Tech win this game.
Yeah.
So they won in 2008, they won in 2014, they won in 2016.
Yeah.
But it has been since 1999.
Yeah. That was my senior year at Georgia.
since Georgia Tech won at home.
Yes.
since '99.
And it was barely they won it. Like it was
in UGA.
Yeah.
So
that was a heartbreaker, and I remember them tearing the hedges out that game too.
yeah. Being in Atlanta, working in Atlanta, I've drove through Georgia Tech quite a bit. If you've never been to Georgia Tech, it's a really awesome kind of stadium. Like you're just driving along and up in the middle of the city, and then boop, there it is, and then boop, you're out of it, and it's like, what? That was the stadium. And then I've done homeless ministry around there, around the aquarium, around the backside towards the like the train station that way, and up the road down the bridge. And so we've walked around that area, and it's gorgeous. I've got a lot of friends who have kids that have gone to Georgia Tech. Oh, the locals are back. Yeah, cicadas. But
you've been censored.
Censored. But hey, man, kind of felt you were going to go UGA, and wasn't sure if this was going to be the one or not. You still have one more pick, but I wasn't sure if you're going to grab this or not. This is a good pick. I like this pick.
Yeah, it's a good one. Go on.
Definitely won't be on mine. Man, it has nothing to do with either one of the teams. It's just I really don't have any buy-in. I really didn't even know who Georgia was. This is being facetious, but I really didn't know who Georgia was until I moved here. I mean, like, UGA is not talked about outside of this state until the last 3 years. It's just not. And like, once this game happened, once they started getting good, the Kirby Smart days, people were like, oh, it's kind of how, like, right now Mississippi State. That's how us in Louisiana kind of felt about UGA, kind of feel about South Carolina, kind of feel about Kentucky. And then boom, Kirby Smart, you guys are you're going to be contenders all the time. I was joking earlier and said, Andy, who'd y'all beat? I mean, you didn't even beat anybody. But like 6 years ago,
9 out of the last 10 meetings, Alabama wins. 9 of 10.
6 years ago, it would have been like, no, not a big deal. Yeah. But this year, and Carson Beck, he's kind of on the fence about who he really is. You know what I'm saying? And wait, can I just throw this out here? I got a UGA guy, I got an Alabama guy, a guy that watches a lot of college football. Why does and Andy, you're a Kiss fan. Why does Carson Beck look like somebody from Kiss without the makeup? Dude, when they show his little picture on the thing where it says his name, height, whatever,
so weird.
That picture looks like he's got like lipstick on and some other. It's a weird picture.
He looked like Ellen DeGeneres in the picture. It was weird.
It's weird. It's a funny picture. And then when he takes his helmet off, I was like, that's not even really what he looks like. But that picture?
Somebody online, and I don't even, it's funny, but it doesn't make any sense. Somebody online posted, Carson Beck looks like a freshly picked scab. I don't even know what that means.
Anyways, we're not going to pick too much. Hey,
listen, he mounted a comeback there, man. Georgia.
Yeah, you know what? The bad thing, the game on Saturday night, I turned the game off at halftime. I was so mad.
Now,
I couldn't believe
Andy's
it
going to
back.
disagree with me because of his side of the rivalry. The unfortunate thing about that is that he didn't finish the deal. Because here's the thing, that game will just kind of get washed away as nothing. Like, especially if neither one of them win the Natty. That game is just going to be like a really good game of the year. Like Dylan messaged in our little chat, this is going to be the SB game of the year. If Carson would have won it, I would have said yes. And then that one play at the end, the botched play where, what was Williams doing? Like, how did he catch it first? And why did he spin the other way? The dude's a phenomenal talent.
He doesn't make physical sense.
It doesn't
Ryan
make
Williams, like the moves he makes, I'm like, he's glitching. He's playing Madden, and he's a glitch.
But you had him come back, but you didn't nail it. It's like, okay, you came all the way back and you lost anyways. It loses the luster of what happened. But if he would have finished the deal, dude, that might have been the game of the century, like the last 25 years. If you finish,
I guarantee you, Dylan didn't say that. If he did mount the comeback, he wouldn't have said that in the chat. So it just, I wouldn't have either. I would have turned my phone off. I didn't want to hear.
Kind of felt that way. And look, I was being real quiet because I was looking up memes. I was taking pictures.
You were stockpiling.
Dude, I was taking pictures of all the fans. I was like, "Don't be a meme. Don't be a meme." I'm finding things, and I'm like, I'm about to bombard them. And then when the touchdown happened, Cannon was watching with me. It's late. He was staying up. And when it happened, Cannon's like, oh, man, they scored. And I was like, yeah, just ruined everything I was about to do. Dang it.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah, anyways. All right, Andy, you're up.
Is it me now? Yeah. Okay. Cool. This may come as a
Do I need to get the
surprise.
button ready? Because I think you need the button.
Yeah. Hold on. Give me just a second. Yeah. It may surprise you that it's my number 2, but man, I'm going with the Iron Bowl. The Iron Bowl is the greatest in college football. I don't care about these other big ones that we talk about up north. Football's not even real up north. It doesn't even matter up there. This rivalry is so heated. Goes back to February 22nd, 1893 was the first matchup. They meet up every year. They have 88 meetings that they had total. Alabama's up 50, 37-1 total in that. But I mean, that's even still pretty close for 88 matchups there. This is what so many big things. And again, I know I jokingly say I hate the kick six, but I mean, you talk about iconic moments in college football history. You can trace these. Just last year, 4th and 31. I mean, that just heave it up. And you have these improbable wins. We have these huge. I mean, Amari Cooper, goodness gracious, when he was there, put up like 250 yards on. I mean, that was like the 55-45 year or something. It was just like no defense showed up or whatever in that game. Dude, this game is intense, man, and not only from the football player standpoint, because again, Auburn's had its windows of time where it's been a legit team. You talk about the Cam Newton years. You talk about, some of Bo Jackson.
Cam Newton years, please.
Well, yeah, I mean, all those things where they were in the limelight, and they were one of those top dogs that were there. But generally, they're kind of the baby brother when it comes to Alabama sports, at least from the national media standpoint. But it doesn't matter when it comes to the Iron Bowl, dude. I mean, records don't matter. The previous week's game doesn't matter. What does it mean for college football playoffs doesn't matter. They always get their best shot. There is never a game. Now, the largest victory, 1948, Alabama wins 55-0, right? But that's few and far between when something like that happens in this game. This game, at least as of recently, I say recently, last 10, 15 years, has been must-see TV, like you said, to use your term there, Kirk. This has been what it's all about. And then you talk about, I mean, you've seen the documentary, the tree at Auburn, the Alabama fan that goes and poisons this tree.
Yeah, that was crazy.
It's like national news. Like this rivalry extends into just like the livelihood of people in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Like you said, Zach, you have to make a decision from birth. Are you an Alabama fan, or are you an Auburn fan when it comes to when you're in Alabama? You don't have a choice one way or the other. And again, just to fill everyone in the Summit Squad of why I'm an Alabama fan. I didn't grow up in a family that was big into LSU. We were big Saints fans for sure. We watched LSU. We were actually probably more Mississippi State because my grandfather graduated Mississippi State. But even in that, it was just whatever. So I started dating my now wife in high school and found out that her dad is from Alabama, and they're big Alabama fans. University of Alabama, Roll Tide, right? And I said, listen, hey, if I'm gonna hope to marry this lady one day, then I need to probably start watching Alabama with the future father-in-law. Did that? That was 2007. And I haven't looked back. So, it just happened. It just happened to coincide with Saban's run, and then obviously I think I have a large part to do with the fact that they've won 90% of their games since 2007 or whatever it's been. But now this rivalry, man, is just crazy. And it doesn't matter how good you're feeling about it as an Alabama fan, you're nervous about this game. You just always are, because you never know what to expect. So I'm going with the Iron Bowl, the greatest one in college football.
Hey, let me just shout out to Hammy and Son, veteran, a guy that has reached out to me on Instagram. Man, love to collab with you, brother, and just really
Great guy.
excited about your channel. He collects cards and stuff. He's
Yep.
from up north. He's a
Mhm.
Packers fan. I kind of have an idea. of
Oregon.
his
He's from
number one
Oregon. Yeah. He was on my channel a couple weeks ago. He is awesome. He's from Oregon, and he's a big Packers fan. And you know what? He's doing this thing. I don't know if I should talk about it. 2 for 22 for PTSD for veterans that committed suicide. It's an amazing thing, and y'all go check it out. Really honored to have him in. Probably one of my favorite episodes I've had on my live stream. Sometimes cards are important on my channel. You know, we talk a lot about cards, but you know, it's more than just cards, man. I mean, Hammy, y'all got to go check them.
Yeah, absolutely.
Second, what Kirk says up there, one of the best.
I'm throwing you a wrench. There's a bone for you, bro. You're a part of the fam. Brookings, Oregon, but you're a Packers fan, right? I'm pretty sure.
He's a big Packers fan. Yeah.
Packers fan. So I think I know where you're going with that one, and I probably know Oregon. There's a pretty good rivalry over there too. Y'all play for bucket or something, don't y'all? Some kind of
it's like Civil War they call it between the Ducks and the Beavers. The Oregon
something like that.
Big rivalry.
Packers fan.
Yeah.
Well, probably the greatest rivalry in the history of sports started there, but it's not on my list today. So
Oregon is probably not a fan of Auburn either because of that 1 year at least.
Oh yeah, well,
Marcus Mariota and Cam Newton.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's my turn, right? So listen, it really goes without saying, but it had to be on my list. So yeah, it's Saints Falcons. And it's what it's even gotten bigger for me now that I live in Atlanta. Saints Falcons. This is what I was going to say earlier, and I said I'll bite my tongue and I'll hold it till later. There are 3 teams that I will never cheer for, and I say never, and I'm lying about that just a little bit. I'll never cheer for Alabama. I will never cheer for Atlanta Falcons, and I'll never cheer for Boston Red Sox. I just won't do it. Even the Raiders, I have cheered for them before. I mentioned them as a previous rivalry, but because I hate these teams. I mean, I just hate them, and my blood pressure's up on game number 1 of the season or the last game going for the trophy. It doesn't matter what happens. Like it's always like last week, right? Who kicked the walk off, and it's like, dang it, I've got to go to work tomorrow, right? Because everybody knows that I'm a Saints fan. I'm from New Orleans, and then everybody, and it's even like I work at a school, so most of them are ladies, and most of them are like, you don't even know about football, to be honest. You don't watch football, but you're going to throw it in my face. Not that ladies don't watch. My ladies don't watch, but some of them do. And I just hate the Falcons. I can't stand them. I hate the Buccaneers quite a bit, but I would much rather see the Falcons lose every game and then us deal with the Buccaneers. And speaking of the Buccaneers, look, they're up 24-17. How good is Baker Mayfield right now? Or
what a comeback story, you know?
Or did Brady just have that good of a team? I'm just saying. I'm just throwing that out. Freaking throwing that out there. But like my hatred of the Falcons is so bad, I almost try and refuse to draft them in fantasy, no matter how good they are. Bijan was out there. Nah, I'm not getting him. Drake London's out. Nah, I'm not getting him. I'm not picking him. I'm just not. I need a kicker. Who's the best one out here? I'm not picking him. I don't care what it is. I don't like cheering for him. I don't like pulling for him. But I'll have a Raider. I'll have a Bronco. I'll have a Charger. I'll have a Panther. I'll have a Buccaneer. Like it's just not. It doesn't fight the same. Atlanta, New Orleans. My whole life is if you were an Atlanta fan or an Alabama fan or a Roll Tide fan in my house, you are like the black sheep of the family, and you cannot do that. And so, I'm going Saints Falcons, and we've already mentioned it. 56 and 55, they've got the one up. We'll probably tie that this year. And if we don't tie it this year, we'll probably win 2 next year. It's just how it is. It's always back and forth. Drew Brees made it a lot of fun. For our side. But there's some players that we get pissed off about, to be honest. Like, we get mad. You have Morton Anderson that went over there, and you have guys like even my LSU guys. Whenever I see an LSU guy over there, I'm like, oh God, I can't stand that you're playing with them.
Bobby Abear. Remember Bobby Abear?
Joe Horn.
Abear went over there.
Yeah.
Joe Horn.
Our punter just recently, what's his name?
Thomas Morstead. Thomas Morstead
went over there. It's just was it Harper that went over there? Roman Harper?
Joe Horn. No, Roman Harper was a Panther, but Joe Horn was
Joe Horn.
Was a
Briefly.
Whenever that happens, I'm like,
but he was there. It's all that matters.
I don't remember playing about it.
His name was was sewn on a jersey, and that's all that matters. Yeah. So.
Yeah. So, anyways, and you know what's funny, man? I heard you say it just a little while ago. People talk about Doug Glanville like he was something.
Jerry Glanville?
Hey, Jerry Glanville. Yeah. And Doug Glanville, too. And Jerry Glanville, and I remember as a kid, like, he was made fun of so much in New Orleans. Like, he was like the laughing stock of football, if you asked a New Orleans fan. And being here, he is like an icon. People, like, love this guy more than sliced bread. Like, what? Like, Glanville? Like, that was a joke. And I guess it's the same with Mora. I guess we kind of like Mora playoffs. But
I love Mora.
Glanville's such a winner
you guys had Mora's son on your coach for a while.
For a little while. Mm-hmm.
That was a big deal.
Yeah.
Anyways,
I love
that whole rivalry. Favorite
And
player on this team.
Oilers before the Falcons.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But Glanville, see, the Falcons were so horrible. That's why he took them to playoffs. And look, I mean, the Falcons were so horrible for so many years, and so to see them go to the playoffs was just amazing. Because
is Jerry Glanville the one that got rid of Brett Favre?
He didn't like. I remember he didn't like Brett Favre, and
Brett was hung over at practice all the time. I mean, so he had reason for sure.
Mm-hmm. But what a horrible mistake by my Falcons. I mean, I could tell you mistake after mistake as a Falcons fan. Okay, look, there aren't, and the thing is, y'all, outside of Atlanta, how many Falcons fans are there? There aren't a lot of us. Like, I feel like I'm a real minority, even here in Atlanta. I mean, Kirk, I feel the opposite. Like, here in Atlanta, I feel like there are more fans of like northern teams and all these other. Like, look, go to the Georgia. Listen.
As a Saints fan here, we have Steelers and Cowboys fans like crazy.
Yeah, same here. Yeah, I feel like the more Steelers fans of Falcons games are Falcons.
I'll say this: Atlanta is the melting pot of the country now, because so many businesses are here. All these people from North come down, and they bring all their Steelers their gear, their Cowboys gear, their Eagles gear, their Giants gear. There's people everywhere in Atlanta that have a different team. You can see them everywhere. I'm seeing Chiefs fans now. I've never seen a Chiefs fan other than me up until this run. Like, they're like, oh, I'll wear my stuff now. And obviously there's bandwagon fans there too. But I feel like you're right. I've never really like been hanging out in like California whenever I went out and been like, oh, there's a Falcons fan. You just never see them. You never really see them anywhere you go. Florida, even,
for a while there, Falcons fans weren't even in their own stadium. They had to pump that in. You know, I mean, so there was that.
If you go out to like Augusta, I go out to Augusta and other parts of the state. There aren't even barely any Falcons fans out there. I'm surprised they even have them on the radio there. Like, you go to other parts of the state of Georgia, maybe you'll have some here locally in Atlanta. Like, for me, I'm a rarity because like I grew up watching Falcons even in the horrible years, but there are so many fans of other teams. And even if they're Georgia Bulldog fans, they won't be Falcons fans. They'll be fans of like the Eagles or the other teams as well in the NFL. But on Saturday, they pull for the Dogs.
Hey, Hammy, bro, this is vintage 95.
Love it,
bro. No, not bandwagon here, baby.
You're not a bandwagoner, but any team that has success like that is
any team that has success. Yeah. Alabama's got bandwagons. There's people all over the what?
Absolutely, yeah.
Right. If you're in Montana and you have an Alabama hat and you don't have get that out of here. Right? Get that. Yeah. So here's the thing. Everybody has bandwagon fans. Everybody. Like the Yankees. That's my team, and they have a ton of bandwagon fans. But
the Braves do. The Braves have a ton.
As soon as somebody wins, look at the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
Like,
I didn't even know if they were a team before Steph
did
Curry.
they
I
sell
know.
Yeah,
any
I've never
jerseys
seen.
back in the Chris Mullen days?
Chris Mullen was the last good team I remember him having.
Tim Hardaway days.
Yeah.
I don't know. But anyways, that is our link. Now we're to our George. The George, the best ever. All right. So you're up first there, Zach.
Okay, this one, since this is my George, and this deserves 2 collectibles. So hold on, I'm going to take me off the back, Jeremy. You'll see my nasty office for a minute. Hang on. I have to throw through, and one of these I'm probably going to get kicked off the stream for this, but it's not bad, but it might be weird to some people. Okay, so y'all know the greatest rivalry to me is this, and it's one of the top college rivalries, and it's going to involve Georgia because I'm just that hard. And this is my Rushmore, so Mount Rushmore. So it's got to be Georgia, Florida, and so definitely.
That's where I thought you were going last pick.
Yeah,
all right.
You got to think of and I want to give a shout out to UGA Barbie. Shout out to UGA. I thought I might get kicked off the stream for showing this, but shout out to Georgia Bulldog Barbie. I got this with somebody who was a South Carolina fan who didn't want this, so I was like, okay, I'll take it. And then I love this one. When I think of the greatest Georgia-Florida games, it's the 1980s when Buck Bellew and Larry Munson right here, the play-by-play for Georgia Bulldogs, is talking about Lindsey Scott running down the field and beating the Florida Gators. There's going to be destruction in St. Simon's Island tonight. And I remember this guy. And this is awesome memorabilia. This is his bobblehead right here. It's I've got, and on the back of it's really awesome tribute. This guy right here was Noah Harris. This is kind of off the topic, but this is Noah Harris. He, after 9/11, he joined the military and gave his life fighting for our country in Afghanistan. And this bobblehead proceeds go to him. He's from Ellijay, Georgia, not far from my hometown. And I can remember him at the UGA Arkansas game right after 9/11, coming out in the field with the American flag. And shout out to all our veterans. I know Kirk is one. And this guy right here, he paid the ultimate sacrifice for our freedom. So I just want to give a shout out to Noah and his family. I know his mom too. I've met her before. Nice lady. But this is what I think about Georgia, Florida. I've been to this, and it's a long drive after you lose to Florida in Jacksonville, driving through South Georgia, coming up the road. I can remember going to these games, these sorority girls coming up to me with that little gator chop in my face and telling me how great. I've been to college game day there right by the Jacksonville Jaguars Stadium. I can remember sitting in the stands and it raining and feeling like I was on a boat right there off the St. Johns River. I've been to all the I don't drink, smoke, do alcohol, any of that stuff, but I've been to some of the parties beforehand where they have gator. They serve gator in the tailgate parties, and it gets crazy. I always stay on the Georgia side on St. Simon's, and then I come into Florida because I stay in my home state because that's where all us Georgia fans stay before we go down there. It's a great rivalry. It's Georgia, Florida, especially in South Georgia. This is a great rivalry, and I love to beat the Gators. I don't care how bad the Gators are. I love to beat the Florida Gators. So this one is big for me. If you win one game, you're talking about one game you want to win. This is it. This has a lot of rivalry to it. Steve Spurrier back in this day, when I was at Georgia, he hates Georgia. He was the quarterback of Florida back in the day, and Georgia beat him, and he rubbed it into Georgia in the 90s, and we finally beat him. It was in 97. I can remember running down the streets, drinking my cold Sprite down the streets of Athens, celebrating with my Georgia flag, and I love to beat Florida. I'll beat Florida. I love when Mark Rick went out there and jumped on this field with them. Oh, man. There's something about Florida that just gets on my nerves. And as a Georgia fan, I'd love to beat them. I'm sorry.
So
I'm not a big fan of the state of Florida. Sorry, y'all. But Florida, I hope you enjoy it. It's nice and sunny down there, but I'll love to stay up here in Georgia in the hills. But, that's my sorry about anybody living in Florida. No disrespect for you, but I like Georgia.
So that's interesting because we talked about how Bama Georgia has never really been a true real rivalry, other than both teams have been really good and recently. But Georgia Florida was always the one that I thought of because it was so we're here SEC West, right? It was always Auburn, Alabama, LSU, those ones we talked about. And the East was either Georgia or Florida. That's the two teams that were coming out of the East. I mean, who else did you have? Nobody else was coming out of the East, but that was the two that were going to beat each other up. That were going to have the rivalry that were coming out of there. So, yeah, and it was kind of its own thing over there that was happening. But, yeah, it's a good pick, man.
Yeah, and I was watching y'all's episode from last week the other day with Kurt talking about Tim Tebow, and I second that, Kurt.
Yeah.
I'm coming up. Look, If you haven't gone and watched, last week we talked. We were talking about the greatest college football players of all time, and I believe Tim Tebow at a college level was one of those guys.
Yeah.
And I watched LSU beat him while these freaking people were clapping in my ear, and it felt so good. See, when I was stockpiling those memes for Andy, that was the same kind of thing I was about to do when we beat Tebow, and I just clapped all the way out and down the stairs.
Listen, I did it. Yeah.
Game. Boom, 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 boom. Listen, there is not many teams I hate more than in the SEC than Florida, because I'm not going to call it today, but I'll just throw it out there. It was one of my honorable mentions. That isn't a real rivalry is LSU Florida, because LSU, it's not going to happen anymore. But when there was East-West and all those things happened, you all later, DK. Thanks for being here. See you next week, hopefully, man. And man, maybe one day you come and hang out with us and be on the show.
Absolutely.
So here's the deal: Florida and LSU, because how the SEC works, if anybody doesn't know, you play all the guys in your on your side. You play all of them once, and then there was one game that you had the same game of all the time from the other side, and then it filled the roster out with maybe one or two other games from the other side and some non-conference games. And that one conference game from the East that LSU always played was Florida. And it was that for years. And gosh, I hate this team. I mean, they had so much success in the 90s with Spurrier, and then the 2000s with Urban Meyer, and all of that. And I have, you're taking a Benjamin also. I have UGA Florida here. And that was because I figured that would be the number one UGA off the board. And I just consider it one of the best rivalries of all time. And it's a good pick. I thought when you picked Georgia Tech, you were going to go here, and then you were going to go something else. But man, I'm glad you picked this.
Yeah, this is a good pick, man. This is a good way to go. I like this. That's a good mountain, man. Solid mountain.
Yeah.
So, sorry, it's Homer. Look, I'm a big Homer.
No, you're supposed to be Homer, though. That's it.
Listen, if you watched last week, I only picked Alabama players for all 8 of my picks. So no need to excuse yourself for being
which is why we've got some of the lowest ratings of all time last week.
Alabama we're good at winning football, not at getting ratings for our show, apparently.
Yeah. So Andy, you're up. Who's your Georgia?
All right, man. It's gotta be, it just has to. Down go the Dirty Birds, man. Come on. It's Falcons. This is the best rivalry. This is as close. And again, maybe it's because I'm biased, but I read a couple different articles and stuff, and a lot of people consider this to be as close to a college rivalry as you can get in the NFL. You know, we talk about 56 and 55. That one up that they have is that one playoff appearance. So, I mean, you're talking regular season, they're even splits, right? 50. It's essentially back and forth. At one point in the game last week, too, they were tied overall records, and they had the exact same amount of yards. I mean, it is about as evenly matched of a rivalry that you'll ever see. I hate that. I wish we were way up on it, but I mean, it's just the fact. It doesn't matter how good the team is. I can't remember a Saints-Falcons game that was decided by double digits. I mean, there's not, it's always a nail.
One of the first years I moved here. Yes, indeed.
Well, right, but those are very rare, right? I mean, you have these games. Most of the time, it's like 3 points, 6 points. I mean, it's such a close game, and it shouldn't be, but it just is. Gosh, there's just so many amazing things. Look, when the Saints come to Atlanta, they don't even put Saints as the team up there. They put away team. They put Falcons versus the away team on the scoreboard in the stadium, right? I mean, it's a whole thing there. If we want to talk about most iconic moments, as a Saints fan, it's always going to be the blocked punt, Steve Gleason. and you couldn't write it better that it was against Atlanta, and it's in the Dome. It's Monday Night Football.
Remember that game?
It's the rebirth. There's a statue of that play outside of the Superdome, right? It's been our rival forever. We've talked about it multiple times. This is a triple Rushmore. I knew this was going to happen because of the fandoms that we have represented here. But man, this game, and just like you said, Kirk, I've been to a Saints-Panthers game, and it was fun. We won. We beat Cam Newton that year. But it doesn't feel the same as this. There's just none of it matters. Again, Bucks. I don't like the Bucks, right? But if it's Bucks Falcons like it is right now, go Bucks. It's just something that's ingrained in us here that we're always going to be against the Falcons. It's just a thing. Obviously we've had we've both, like we've all shared, we've both had our shares of ups and downs, a lot more downs probably than ups from both of our teams, and we lived through the years of the Aints.
And we both had teams that have grocery bags on our head at one point in the season. Yeah,
we both had.
I think there was probably a game somewhere out there that everybody had trash bags on their head.
Yeah, there was years where it's just this became our Super Bowl, right? There were years where it was like, did we beat Atlanta though? Yeah, we were 3-13, but was one of those 3 against Atlanta? Like it just and vice versa. It's probably the same thing. Like where it's like it doesn't matter if you beat that team. That's all that makes the season.
There's every game, but win that one rivalry game.
I just thought of something about this rivalry. I think it was maybe 96 or 97. Zach, you'll know exactly. The Falcons were in the Super Bowl against the Broncos. Was that
99?
99. So I was in the military at that time. So I was trying to figure out when that was. And I remember watching this game, never been nervous watching a sporting event as I was to watch that event. Because I was like, if these guys get their first Super Bowl before us, like it was like, come on, Denver. And I hated Denver, Come on, Denver. Do not allow Atlanta to get their first one.
Well, thanks to Eugene Robinson who stayed out all night.
That's when the Dirty Birds all started with Jamal.
Anderson.
Jamal Anderson, and then what was it? Chris Chandler? Was it
Chandelier? Yeah, Chris Chandler.
Chris Chandler. Yeah,
because he'd always get hurt. We called him Chandelier.
Yeah.
So
anyway,
this has been that, and then you
absolutely. The Lions have lived through probably the worst ever.
Yeah.
Right? And so were the Bucks. Remember the Bucks when they were the creamsicles in the beginning.
Yeah, I just saw some of the creamsicle uniforms in the stands. I was thinking about those horrible Buccaneer teams back in the 80s, and
they were some bad teams back then. But yeah, good pick, man. I knew you were going to go here. I had you reversed though, and you did shock me. I had Iron Bowl 1, this 2. I kind of felt that Zach was probably going to go with this 2 as well. Triple Rushmore at the 2 spot at the link. But it's a little mixture. Hey, I'm going to come in, and let me pull up these stats because I had them all typed.
All right, so it's Chiefs who?
Say that again.
I'm just kidding. Go ahead.
Wait, what'd you say?
I said it's Chiefs and who? What are we talking about?
No, it's not. I already said that. I already said it's not. I am going with one that I don't have a dog in the race, but I think it's the greatest football rivalry of all time, and I love watching this game. And I'm going with Ohio State, Michigan.
Great.
And
awesome.
This became even bigger for me, not necessarily for me, but for 2 or 3 reasons. One, I have a brother-in-law who is a huge Michigan fan. He's an ex-brother-in-law, actually, but he was actually stood in my wedding, one of my favorite people in the world. Aaron, shout out to Aaron. He's a huge Michigan fan. When I first met him, he was wearing a Michigan alumni jacket, like a letter jacket. And then Andy, our pastor, Pastor Ken, is from up there in Michigan, huge Michigan fan. And then my best friend, guy that stood in my wedding as well, We call him Ohio. He'll be on here next week. I think it's next week, if I have my times right. Him along with Paul, another guy that was in my wedding. He's from Ohio, and Ohio State's his favorite team. We've called him Ohio the whole time we've known him, but his name's Brian. I really didn't really get into this and start to see what actually went down at these games until hanging out with Ohio. And we spent time at Buffalo's. This time where I was kind of strung out and kind of alcoholic-ish, if you will, before I got sober. But man, Michigan leads this 60, 52, and 6, which is crazy because it feels like Ohio State's dominated most of the most recent years. But Michigan won like a lot in the beginning, and they've come back. You have the Schembechler and Woody Hayes like rivalry, which was like in the 60s and 70s, and then Ohio State dominates again with the Tressel, Urban Myers. Even this Ryan Day is kind of killing it right now. And then most recently, just last year, Jim Harbaugh comes up and gets him a natty. Michigan is in second place, right? Well, I think if you don't count Yale or all this other like whatever, I think it's like Alabama, Michigan, like the main teams that are winning national titles. And Ohio State is on that list, and a short list of like top 5, top 10 for national titles. So there's a lot of stuff going on. It's always these two coming out of the Big Ten. And I don't like either other team, but I will say this: one of my favorite things about a rivalry game is Andy. Kyle, my nephew, he prints shirts every year for this game. And gosh, why am I can't speak? Sounds like I'm out Buffalo's again. Kyle would print rivalry shirts, and he would print an Ohio State rivalry shirt for Ohio, and he would print like the whole Buffalo Wild Wings shirt for Michigan beating Ohio, and we would all wear these shirts, and we'd all be in this place just cheering, and it's some of my best memories. Back in the day when Calvin, you'd have the sticker where he's like peeing on whatever. We had a shirt for that. It's just so much fun. But I will tell you this, in my opinion, it's the best rivalry. When you're talking about rivalries, it's the one that holds the most strength as far as like firings. Man, I remember when Lloyd Carr was in there, man, and he couldn't beat him. And everybody would say, why are we like, he would go like 12-1, and he'd lose that one game, and people were like, fire him. And like, he's 12-1. Fire him. He can't beat Ohio State. Fire him. And it's just it's crazy. And to listen to Ohio kind of chat about this, when I thought we threw out there, what are the best rivalries? This is the first one I penciled down. Then I started writing all the other ones, and I almost went completely away from it. But even though I don't have a real dog in the fight, it to me is one of my favorite games to watch every year. It is just on that rivalry weekend, I'm watching LSU and I'm finding this game. That's what I'm doing, and I'm watching that one. There's another couple I'm about to mention, probably in my Benjamins. To me, this is the George, and I think it's the GOAT as far as college for me. Rivalries.
Great pick.
So,
Great pick.
It's called The Game. I mean, there's a reason. Like, it's very simple. Yeah, it was on my Benjamins. You took it from my Benjamins because because I had no dog in the fight. It doesn't really matter to me, but there is no denying the amount of Saints players that played for that Ohio State team.
Oh yeah, that's it. There's a lot of your favorite players played for both of these teams. I mean, it's just. I remember the Rose Bowl year with Desmond Howard and
the pose.
I just don't think. I feel like Ohio State, and maybe I'm wrong, is the better NFL producer. I mean, obviously you've got Brady who's going to skew things, but like, and there's players from Michigan for sure. But it feels like Ohio State has like 30 players that come out every year. I mean, I know I'm exaggerating it there, but it feels like they have produced at least recently.
And look, this is not to get another throw in for LSU. For me, I think it's Alabama, Ohio State, LSU, Florida, and probably like a Texas, Oklahoma, and then it's everybody else. And when you talk about like who's getting picked in the number ones, who's whatever. Now Georgia has the last 5 years. I mean, they broke the record, didn't they, last year? I think for like 12 in the first round, something like that, which was crazy. I think they went
to Philadelphia too. Yeah,
Philadelphia is like the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yeah, and in Athens they call them the Philadelphia Dogs because there's so many playing.
Yeah, they went back to back to back. And Vintage Sports Flips was on here. He's going to be here later. He loves. He's a Philly guy. He's in Philly, so he talks about that on his show often.
I lived in Ohio for a little while. My senior year at UGA, I did an internship in Cleveland, Ohio. I worked for a guy who was Ohio State player. And I enjoyed my time up in Cleveland. It was enjoyable, but I was right down south. But I really got to appreciate this. I even got to go down to Columbus and visit the Ohio State Stadium and the campus there and go inside the Ohio State Stadium and see. It's really nice. But it is like the biggest northern college football rivalry, to me.
Yeah.
I mean, there's different football up north than there is college-wise than there's down there in the south.
They have to be really big into football because food-wise, they put like chili on their spaghetti or something weird. It's like down here, at least we've got like if our football team's not good, it's like, well, we can still eat good,
I was reading an article this week about how many northern men, and specifically, are coming down to go to SEC colleges because they want to feel the atmosphere of a Saturday college football game in the SEC. And they said there's like an influx at like LSU, Ole Miss, all these schools where people from the north are wanting to come down to college in the SEC because of the atmosphere.
Joe Burrow did it. I mean, there you go. So,
it's a great example of one.
Anyway,
all right, man. Let's do our Bennies, man. So that was a great set. But now it's time for our Benjamins. You guys hanging along with us? Still got 4, man. Hit that like button. Spam that thing, man. Share away. We are 30 away from the illustrious. Dude, we were at. I really hate YouTube. Can I just say this? That they might
use more subs, man.
We got like 6 subs last week, and then I woke up and they were all gone. And it's like YouTube.
Frustrating.
YouTube is like kind of putting that torch on us, and it feels like every time we go one way, we lose more. And it's like I know these people aren't deleting us. Like it's just the way the algorithm works.
It could have been because of my Bama picks last week, so I apologize.
Y'all are gonna get there, man. I feel it. Like I've been so pulling for y'all to get to 1K, man, because y'all are right there. I'm like, come on. I'm pulling
30 subs away. I mean, if we would have had that time, we could have picked it up.
I took my family out to eat at Wendy's when I hit 1K.
What we have to do here's the thing. What we have to do is have more time that we can put towards it, but neither one of us have it. And so if we could do a couple other type of videos that aren't just the live, that would get us there. I just know it, but it's just not. It's not in the cards for us right now.
The fan off thing you did was awesome, by the way. My daughter just loved the fan off video y'all did at the convention. My daughters love fan off, and they just were glued to that, by the way. And Sergeant Slaughter was absolutely awesome. Some of y'all's other videos.
Speaking of that, hey, let's do that. Pause. Turn your mics down, everybody.
You have headphones. Turn them down.
Sergeant Slaughter, ID number 199-20017. Catch him, maggots. This is Sergeant Slaughter from the WWE and G.I. Joe, the real American hero. And you're watching the Rushmore Show. This is the top 4 and nothing more. And that's an order. Yo, Joe.
We just had
we didn't have to take Vince McMahon off.
Yeah, you may have to cut Vince out. I heard about that documentary on Netflix.
Dude, that documentary is insane. I need
to go watch it.
I watched it. I got halfway through the first episode, and man.
Yeah.
Okay, so time for our Benjamins. Let's do this.
Hey, speaking of things we need to get rid of.
Speaking of things we need to get rid of. Like we have to keep it. But
It's still a
Diddy's
great song.
in the news about things that are not Christian and not things that we would cheer for. But hey, that song is all about the Benjamins, and that's what we're going to talk about today. All about the Bennies, which that should get us a hit. Maybe somebody's looking for it because
I said there's keywords you say here on YouTube get you a lot of views. Maybe that's
Diddy. Election.
Election, Kamala Harris, Donald Trump. Yeah, there we go. Let's do our
views. Let's go.
Let's start top 4. What's left? And so you're first. Andy, me, Andy, you, Andy, me, Andy, you. You finish us off. So you get 4 picks. We can't match. Got to go out. You got to dig deep now, and it's 27-20. Just like.
Okay, so I have 4 picks here. This is where I get confused. Okay, I have four other ones that I was going to have on the. Okay.
But you can't pick anything we've already picked.
Okay. Ooh.
And once you pick it, we can't pick it. So if you pick,
it's like fantasy
like an Alabama, an LSU, a Saints, a Kansas, you probably want to snag that now. If you've got all UGA, you're probably safe.
Oh no, I've got a lot more that I didn't cover. I'm glad. Because I had a lot more. Okay. So 4, and I'm not. My last one will be probably the one that barely missed it. Like it was this close.
So we're gonna go in order like a fantasy draft, like a snake draft. So you get one here. You're not gonna get another pick until a little while.
Oh, okay. We'll go around.
You're first, and then Andy's second, then I'm third.
Okay.
And then it's gonna come back. Andy, me, you, and then you get double picks. You, me, Andy. And then Andy, me, you get the last pick. So you'll get first pick, last pick, and you get back-to-back picks in the middle.
Okay. All right.
So you want to think about who we might want to pick and try and pick that so we don't take it.
Yep. So I'm going to go ahead and do one right now.
Yeah. You're right.
Okay. I'll go ahead and mention this one. It was already mentioned in the chat tonight, and I think it's a great one. Clemson, South Carolina.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's a great rivalry. Clemson. That wasn't mentioned tonight. Clemson, South Carolina. I've been to Columbia a few times. I've been to Clemson, and that's a huge rivalry inside the state of South Carolina. Clemson's had such a good team the last couple of years. South Carolina, but they're an up-and-coming team. That's a bitter rivalry there in South Carolina. So I'll throw that one in. I'm just throwing off now think about it. Georgia Clemson would be good. That's not okay. I'll go to Clemson, South Carolina.
you got 3 more, so we'll see.
Okay.
I'm not going to get that one anyway, so don't worry about that. All right, I'm going to go with probably college football's next to, and this one doesn't even matter in the sense of like these teams are never really competing for the natties, but it is the most. It's a spectacle event that you watch in college football. I'm going to go with started in 1890, Army Navy. Army
that's a good one. Yeah,
is just, and I don't care. I mean, but it's just a huge rivalry. And then to see the bands at the end and how they salute and they do.
Can I be honest? I had that on my list. It would have made my top if it was Air Force Army.
Yeah.
And Air Force Army is just not as big a game. Army Navy. That was
a huge college
That's
game.
A great game. And it's always cold. It's in December.
Wearing the coats, too. Like, it's just cool, man.
It's usually the only game on that weekend, too, because it's right after the championship weekend. So it's a great time to sit down and watch it, It's very patriotic. That's what I love about it.
All right, I'm going to go. So I get back-to-back picks. I'm starting end of the first, starting the second. I'm going to go an NFL, and I'm going to go college. So I'm going to get 1 and 1. I'm going to take Hammy and Son. I'm going to take the best pro football. The GOAT would be Green Bay, Chicago Bears. That is definitely the best rivalry if you're talking rivalries, right? If you're talking rivalries, I believe like it goes back forever and a day. But the Bears, all that stuff has to do with Green Bay and them guys. And these are 2 of the oldest teams in the history of sports. And that was the biggest one. And then I'm going with the next one, which is a humongous game in the Midwest, I guess. Is it called that Midwest? But I'm going with the Red River rivalry.
Nice, good pick.
Oklahoma this is just a huge game. No matter how good either one of them is, it's a fun game to watch.
It's always 65-58 too.
Yeah.
That game is wild.
I remember the year. So Oklahoma was good for several years in a row, and Texas wasn't. And then Texas was good several years, and Oklahoma wasn't. And there was a couple years in there where they were both just okay. They were both in like the top 6, and it was really good games to watch. The Vince Young game, the Red River rivalry was.
That was great.
Yeah. But yeah, we talked about Vince last week a lot. But yeah, I'm going Red River rivalry. So Andy, back to you.
I'm going to go with what I think is the next best NFL rivalry because I do agree. I think that Green Bay, Chicago, historically speaking, at least, is
historic.
Yeah, they've got like 200 matches.
There's two more when I think of pro that have.
I think that this is the hardest hitting rivalry out there. Some just historically good players on both of these squads. I'm going Ravens Steelers. I think that this rivalry is just it's one of the games in the NFL that it matters.
Everyone we've mentioned so far, I've marked off. So
it matters so much. Like this one, typically in the NFL, now college is different now with the 12 team, but like in college, it was like you lose one game, that almost messes your chances up. Where in the Ravens Steelers feels like there's so much riding on those games all the time. So I'm going to go, Ravens and Steelers. All right, so Zach, we're back to you. You get back-to-back picks now.
Oh, okay. Oh man, I gotta. Do I get another one after that? I got another one after that. Right?
You got 3 picks left, but you're going back-to-back right now.
Okay, I'm going. It was in the chat earlier tonight. I'm going Cowboys, Redskins. Commanders.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And that goes back to the 80s because in the 80s, I still call them Redskins, whatever you want to call them. They may go back to Redskins, I heard the other day. But
yeah.
Back in the 80s, the Cowboys were really, really good. And the Redskins were really, really good when they had Joe Theismann, Art Monk. The Cowboys, can't remember the Cowboys ever being bad, but they were really good back in the late 80s, early 80s too as well. And you'd have these Visa commercials where they'd be talking about Cowboys and Indians, and it was just awesome, the rivalry, the talk. And I think they played in the same conference. That's like the historic rivalry growing up as a kid. I remember seeing them, and I was like, oh, that's a big rivalry. So I'll go with that one. That is kind of a good one. And I'm picking the NFL there, so that's a good one. I want to say my very favorite one for last because this one, Kirk will like this, the last one. Let me think. I got to think of another one right off the top of my head. Okay, I'll go with one. This is an SEC one. I'll throw it out there. I can't think of another one, to be honest with you. But I'll go Tennessee, Florida.
Oh, that's a good game.
Tennessee, Florida was an epic rivalry for a long time, even though we have Georgia in between them. I can remember when Tennessee had all those really great teams. And I can remember Florida going up there and tearing the goalpost down in Knoxville and celebrating and Gators. And then Tennessee beating them down there in Gainesville. That's a big rivalry. Going back, especially in the 90s, there was a lot of rivalry between them back then. Both really good teams, and there's a lot of bitterness between those schools. So I had to make a confession here. As a kid, I was a big Tennessee fan. And I was born in Chattanooga, so I kind of felt like, well, I only lived there for like 3 years. But I was born there. My dad managed a Spencer's Gifts. I don't know if y'all ever heard
Really?
of it. Wow. He was when I was born in 1975. I'll give you my age here. 1975. My parents moved from Atlanta to Chattanooga, which it's right there over the Georgia-Tennessee line. And my dad managed a Spencer's Gifts before he came back and worked in Atlanta for the rest of his life. But it was really cool because he'd bring back these Batman like posters and all these comic book stuff, which is the coolest thing in the world. But I've always liked Tennessee, and so especially in the 80s. So I kind of was always pulling for Tennessee, and they're like my second favorite college team. But yeah, that's a great.
My daughter is potentially, we're not sure. She's kind of got a bum knee right now, but potentially going to a elite softball camp in Tennessee this weekend.
Nice.
Great school and great campus.
Collectibles is in the house. Yeah. Love Chance, man. Love Chance. Yes, it is a good game so far. And it's leaning the right direction so far, but they're knocking on the door. They're knocking on the, here it comes. Oh, holding him up. All right, so Andy.
All right. Well, I kind of halfway mentioned this one earlier. It's not even really a rivalry anymore in the true sense, but man, for a long time, I'm going NFL Saints Rams. I'm going to pick that one. It's a throwback one. It's not really anymore. And of course, we have the no call. That's more of our rivalry with the refs than anything. But still, man, NFC West days back then. Even a little bit shortly after that. I think part of it too, for me personally, picking it is having California family. I got a ton of Cali family. They were St. Louis, once after that point. But again, that LA tie into that too. Anyway, some old school matchups there. Saints Rams was always kind of one of those ones too that was just we would get destroyed by them a lot, but I hate them. So Saints Rams.
We were in the same conference at one time, right? Weren't the Saints, the Falcons, and the Rams? And we're in the 49ers.
49ers. And the Niners.
Because I'm just going to throw it out there. My turn. Saints Niners.
Yeah, there you go. There's another
Saints,
one.
Niners. And that's the one. That's the right end.
Right to be a rivalry, they're kind of, it was a one-sided affair.
It was a one-sided affair, but I'm going to tell you right now, there is not a single team I hated more than the Falcons. Before the Niners. The Niners were winning. We had to play them 2 times a year. We could never beat them. Couldn't stand them. It was like, oh my goodness. Who, like Joe Montana, Steve Young, just boom, 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 the West. And I'll tell you, just as a honorable mention, just a fun one to name out, Saints fans hated the Niners way before they hated the Falcons.
Yeah.
Way before.
They were so good. I saw the Niners when they had Joe Montana and Jerry Rice and all that, Roger Craig in the 80s. They were so good back in that day. And they were
that was one of the reasons I like the Chiefs is because Joe Montana left the Niners and he went to Kansas City. And I was like, oh, I'll cheer for you over here. That's one of my fandoms. And I'm going to finish this thing up with, I really tried to put a high school on here. I really tried to go arena football. You mentioned Canadian football.
Toronto or not.
I really tried going with one of these, and they're so regional, right? And I was trying to think Louisiana high school football, right? And I was like, nah, I'm not going to do it. So I'm going to go with what I think is the biggest rivalry left on my sheet that I love. And because there's some of these I don't love. I don't really love them. So I'm going to I mentioned it earlier, I'm going with Kansas City, Denver.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, that's a good rivalry.
The Chiefs against the Broncos. And that's shout out to Thomas. Thomas is a Tennessee fan and a Broncos fan. Kind of like a son to me. But this is another one of those games, man. I just you pins and needles. I won't miss it.
Yeah.
Was that London? No, it's Mooney.
Yeah, Daryl Mooney, the touchdown.
Thank goodness it wasn't Mooney.
Who's your Mooney tonight, huh?
That's a second touchdown.
Yeah.
All right. So
I get him. I get my final pick. Yep. I am going to keep it in Louisiana. I don't really have a dog in this fight, but man, when you talk about rivalries for this one, it's since 1974. This has been a game that's consistently ongoing. I'm going with
yes, gosh, I forgot.
Bayou Classic, Grambling versus Southern.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Dang it, I had that one. I didn't write it down.
Yeah. So the thing is that this is a tight thing. This is a huge rivalry here in state. It's something that it's every single year. We have the Bayou Classic. It's Southern and Grambling State in the dome. Man,
I've watched that on TV. That's a great game.
It is a great game.
We talked about it back a couple weeks ago when we were talking about coaches and Eddie Robinson.
Yeah. So Bayou Classic, check this out. Southern, where is it? Oh my gosh, 26-24. It's such a close game here, but yeah, man, Grambling and Southern, it's one of those kind of, it's such a historic matchup here in Louisiana. It doesn't get really talked about a lot. You definitely don't hear about it necessarily nationally as much, but there are some of the most passionate fans associated with this game in these two universities. Yeah, I'm gonna go with the Southern Bayou Classic.
Boo, that everybody goes for the halftime show, baby.
Oh, and that's what it's up. Yeah, I mean,
Amazing fans right there.
Yeah.
Dude, you've never seen a college band till you've seen those bands. Right.
Yeah.
All right.
Last pick.
You are finishing it up, Zach, and then you're
okay.
With the world all
yes.
about your channels.
Yes. This one is really my number one. Okay. It truly is. But the only one on this YouTube channel will know about this rivalry is maybe Kirk. Okay, because nobody knows about this, and this is a high school rivalry. And Kurt, do you think you know where I'm going with this?
Is it Lowndes and Valdosta?
No. Well, that is a good one, but no.
Parkview against somebody then.
It is. Now, this is a Cheerios box of the greatest high school in America, the Parkview Panthers. My alma mater are in Cheerios, and you'll see this is a 1997 state champion Parkview Panthers right here. And if you look down here, you'll see Jeff Rancour on this team. And I played on this team back in 1997.
Put that back on the screen. I'm going to put me on the
check this out. You'll see Jeff Rancour. Where's he at? He's somewhere in here. And this is the big orange jungle where my Parkview Panthers play. I grew up behind this stadium, okay? I absolutely love this team. And I'm going to show you something even cooler. This is old Zach in 1994 playing for the Parkview Panthers. I won. This is the Orange Helmet Award I won. This is the first year playing. There's old Zach. That's a young Zach right there. Playing Coach Flo, Cecil Flo, the legendary Parkview coach. Many state championships won this. Was our coach. One of the greatest. So many great players play Parkview football. Jeff Rancour, Matt Stinchcomb, John Stinchcomb, Brett Conway kicked in the NFL. All these guys gone on to the NFL. There are many more. Chris Carson that plays for Seattle. So many players come out of Parkview, and not only just football, but baseball. Matt Olson. I could go on. Olympic athlete. I just love my Parkview fans. I'm sorry, I just get fired up, and I have to stop being such a fan because I got older and people said, "Why are you still cheering for high school sports?" So I've got, even at 50 years old, I still love my Parkview Panthers, and there's a real reason why that. Because I played in 1993, our coach was Coach Mize. I don't know if have you ever heard of what happened to Coach Mize? He was our head football coach, and he was murdered my junior year going to my senior year. So I don't know. There's just a real bond of closeness to me to my Parkview Panthers, and we won. Now had Coach Flo, our head coach, after that, and they've gone on to win several state championships. But talking about a rivalry here, I'm going off topic. Is Parkview Brookwood. This is the biggest rivalry in high school football, I think, in the state of Georgia, and no one knows about this. They are the Brookwood Broncos. Now, as a kid growing up in the 80s, Parkview and Brookwood were the same school, and then Brookwood went off and started their own school, and they all were from Parkview, and then they couldn't have their own stadium, so they played in our stadium, and they had these little Bronco hooves. Broncos are horses, and they put them all over our Panther paws, and they would drive by my house and throw bottles at my house after they won games, okay? I despise them with a passion beyond. I'm sorry, but there aren't any teams that I really despise than Brookwood Broncos. I used to date a girl in college that went to Brookwood, and she broke up with me. I'm still heartbroken about that. Not really, but I despise them with a passion. At 50 years old, I'd love to just go with there. Okay, but they're still there are people that own companies that make commercials. What was the name of it? There was one of these big commercials owned by a Parkview guy, and he made a commercial jabbing at Brookwood. It's the Battle of Five Forks Trickham. Now, I grew up right off of Five Forks Trickham. It drove by my house. There's this road. It's the Battle of Five Forks Trickham. They got that name in the Civil War. They were trying to trick the Yankees coming into Sherman to burn Atlanta. That's always what I heard as a kid. But it's a huge rival. We had over 10,000 people attend a Parkview Brookwood game back in the 90s. That is huge. Look, I work at a junior college. We don't get 2,000 at a big game, okay? it's huge. A lot of people that like, there's a lot of famous stars, famous athletes have come out of the. I'll tell you this: back in the 80s and 90s, Parkview and Brookwood were public schools, but they were really private schools because of the excellence in these schools. A lot of wealthy people. I'm not gonna lie to you, pretty wealthy people at that time. Had some money in there. I didn't. I grew up in the lower class, middle class neighborhood, but it's a huge rivalry. I love to beat Brookwood. They were supposed to play last week. It was canceled. They moved it to next week. I care about one game only. Parkview plays the entire year. You can lose every game, but you better beat Brookwood. And my parents a few years ago wanted to build a house in the Brookwood School District. And I told them if they ever wanted to see me again, they will stay in the Parkview School District. I will never go visit them if they live in that garbage community. Sorry. But and some of them are Georgia Bulldog fans. Sorry, I'm Tigers fans. But I just sorry. Okay. I've gone off enough. But that's my number one. Should be number one.
I love it.
First and foremost, my school is an elementary that feeds into Parkview. The school that I go to. I am absolutely every day that I go to school shocked, like completely shocked, that so many national championships in football, baseball, whatever have come out of Parkview, because the kids at my school are just soccer fans. They don't even like football. They don't like baseball. They all like soccer. My son, I made him go to school with me. One of the reasons is because potential to play for Coach Chan over at the baseball field, and he's a baseball guy. But the middle school is not great, and my daughter actually had an opportunity to go play softball with them, but I didn't know anything about Parkview except for reading it that they were like the number one team in the country when I was back in high school, which I was in '96, so yeah. Not much later than you. So
that was
here's the
year right here.
Yeah, so I was 96 when I graduated, and last thing I'll share. Right now, Parkview and Brookwood are both 1-4.
I know.
They're both 1-4, and they're playing next week, and that's going to be a fun game. When I moved here, we didn't know where to move. We didn't know where to land. What should we go here? Should we go there? Whatever. And my wife and I, we got on what's goodschools.com or whatever it is, goodschools.org, and Brookwood was straight 10s, the whole feed, the whole cluster. From the bottom to the top was straight 10s then. We're like, man, we need to go to school here. So our first spot that we rented was walking distance to Brookwood High School. And it didn't work out because the house, and you probably know this house, you probably drove by it a million times. It's like an antebellum home. It's got a complete wraparound porch, kind of set back. And it was supposed to be like 3,000 square foot, blah, blah, blah. And it was really only like 1,500 square foot. It was a complete lie. They counted this basement that had nothing in it. Long story short, we didn't stay. And that's how we landed over here. We're in Tequila.
Great choice.
And we landed in Tequila, and Tequila is,
now you're a Falcon.
It's a 6 and 7. Their football team is terrible. Most sports over here at Tequila are pretty bad, to be honest. But recently, and we're losing fans as I'm talking. Recently, the rivalry would be Buford Mill Creek.
Yeah,
and these were just last year. Now, we played Mill Creek 2 weeks ago, or 3 days ago. We played Buford a week ago, not in football, but in softball. Carson did. My daughter. And when they played each other last year, it was number 1 versus number 2 in the country. And power went out on the feed on the game-winning touchdown.
Oh, wow.
When people were watching it on ESPN. That's a true story. So,
awesome.
Anyways, but
Buford's great. I grew up in Buford. My grandma taught 30 years at Buford High School. The Buford Wolves, a lot of great players come out of there too. And back then, Tequila and Buford were big rivalries because they were the
Yeah.
smaller schools in Gwinnett County. There's like 30 high schools in Gwinnett County, y'all. It's a suburb of Atlanta. And they were the smaller of because they were smaller school districts, and they were big rivalries back in the day.
Buford's got more money than all of them.
Yeah,
That
they
place
are
is
now. But
it's like a college coliseum.
yeah,
Anyway,
they were small towns when I was a kid.
they're still small towns, but you need big dollars to go there, baby.
Yeah.
So you mentioned it. It was a public school, but it is a public school, but it's a city-run school.
Yeah,
So,
the city runs Buford City Schools. They're different type of. They don't even run off the Gwinnett County school system.
but they play in our division, which is great. Anyways, well, that's our show today, guys, and glad for hanging out. Chance, if you're still out there, great seeing you, man. I haven't got the chance to got a chance, boom. I haven't got a chance to watch the show in a while. I've actually been kind of off YouTube, watching other people's stuff, in which I feel bad because we've just been busy and no hard feelings, but every time I jump in, I'll say hello and whatever. So if you guys are still out there, Hammy and Son, thank you for being here. DK was here earlier, man. DK I met through the grapevine, and so many other people that have joined us. But it is getting late, guys. It's time to go, and Tampa Bay has taken the lead with 9 minutes left. It's 30-27.
It's a good game, though. It's very close.
It's going to be a good game. Zach, thank you so much for giving of our community, being in our chat, giving of your time. And can you tell everybody maybe what you've got coming up? Like,
yeah,
definitely. Both of your channels, and if you're going to be guesting somewhere else, let everybody know what your schedule's like, and then we'll get out of here.
Definitely. Honored to be here tonight, guys. I'll be back in the chat every week. I love y'all's show. Big fan. I've been honored to be here tonight. And I'll be going live tomorrow night, moving my live stream Thursday to tomorrow night. And we're going to be ripping some select football. Excited about that. And trying to grow Zach the Frugal Gardener, just like Kirk and Andy are to 1K. We're at 850 or somewhere around that for Zach the Frugal Gardener. So we're about 150 off to 1K. And we're on the road to 12K here on Zach Sports Cards and Collectibles. The shorts are popping, the feeds, and I really appreciate everybody's support, and honored to be here tonight. Thank you guys for having me on here, and really had a great time tonight. I love the show, and I'll watch every week, keep watching y'all, and honored to be here tonight. Thank you guys.
It's been a blast having you on, man.
And not only do I like the sports stuff, y'all, I love the retro stuff y'all do, the 80s stuff. That's part of my childhood, and I really enjoy it.
With that being said, we have a few weeks left of sports, and let me just throw this out there before everybody heads on out and gets out of here. But we have a few more weeks. Hammy and Son, thank you so much. We totally appreciate that. But this is what we have coming up. I might, because it's really hard to see these pictures, I might put the wrong one up. I might put last month's up. They're very similar. Let's see. Yeah, that's last month, and we just finished that one. Go check those out. Help us out with the watch hours. Go back and check those out. Let that thing run in the background, for goodness sake. You got multiple channels, do it. We're chasing that 1,000. But here's this week. This month. So we got Zach's Collectibles today with football rivalries. Next week, Baseball Hall of Fame snubs with my besties that were in my wedding, Paul and Ohio. That's Brian. Vintage Sport Flips and Vogs were both in the comments today. NBA dunkers and stadiums. And now it's like October. We are starting to book for food. Zach, you want to come back on for a food one? You're welcome.
Yes, I'd love to come back.
Hammy and Son, do you like ham? Come on over and do us some.
Top four ham.
That was a really bad joke. But
top four ways to make ham. I like a spiral cut ham. I like a ham sandwich.
Andy will be out of town for 2 weeks, so he's probably missed 2 shows. We'll have to either pre-record or record without him. We've only recorded without Andy or I only a handful of times. So we might have a different schedule, but food we're going to start booking now. And in about a month, we will start connecting the dots because they're already booked. They're already booked. We just have to nail them out, figure out the dates. But I have a list, and let's see. There it is. All the people coming for video games. Bryce, who was in the chat, Retro Wolf, Pac-Man Case, Square Pegs, Mort's Garage, Retro Cart, Retro Gaming Pandemic, RNG Gamer, Statter and Steve, Pickin' Preacher, Manny's Arcade, Retro Rob, Iowa Gamer Dad, Super Retro Force, Feral Inferno, Rad Bash, and so many more coming on for video games then it's movies and TV, music, nostalgia, back to sports.
Hey, Hammy and Son said he'd come on for food, and he's got stuff about overseas food. Maybe I can do an Argentina food also. We can somehow make something.
Okay, so we can do our favorite international foods.
Foods that we've eaten outside of the country.
Yeah. Because I've been out of the country a couple times.
I've only been to Argentina, so it's going to be my top 4 foods in Argentina.
My food would be from Iraq and
MREs. What kind of MREs did you enjoy? What's the best MRE?
Oh, that wouldn't count. And Qatar and a little bit of Germany and some of the Mexico and Virgin Islands. But that'd be fun. And we could talk about that. We could talk about other things. Let's connect, and we'll love to have you on, man.
He's awesome. I've had him on my channel. One of my favorite people I've ever had as a guest. He's great.
I really want you to come on board and chat about the PTSD and have you chat about your cause.
Go back and look at my war movies and just let me know what you think, because that's been my most probably.
Okay. Hammy, you're obviously veteran. We've talked about this. Do you like war movies? I'll wait.
Zach, do you like war movies while we're waiting?
Sure. Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
I got a lot of flack.
Listen, I'm giving you homework.
I love G.I. Joe.
Sometime now and the next time we chat, go back and look at the war movie episode. It was in January of last year, because it was January, and we did it in January last year. This is before we went live, and we did war movies. And we also did action hero stars, which was fun. We also did action actors, which that was fun too. But go check that out and see what you think of Andy's list. Yeah,
it was the start
of
one
of my
just
favorite
off
episodes
the
of all
wall.
time. Now, one of the things that I miss, Andy, and I think we really need to think about trying to do it again somehow, is our intros from back in the day. They were legit. They were funny.
Yeah.
They were funny. We don't do that anymore, but we used to do some funny stuff. And yeah, I'll do that. Thank you, Hammy and Son. Not just that you're going to watch, but I really need a second opinion. Actually, I need about 100th opinion, because everybody has seemed to agree with me on this one. But
I still hold to the fact that they're all war movies. All 4 that I presented.
With your criteria, they're all war movies. Absolutely.
With any criteria. It's all about war.
Oh, God. They all have a war in them.
Some of them in the title. You can't deny it.
Anyway. I love this show so much. I love you guys. And it's time to tell everybody good night, and let's go finish watching this game.
Hey, well, let's say goodnight like we always do. This is the Rushmore Show, where it's all about your top 4.
And nothing more.
Peace.